Okay, I think we're ready to begin.
You got the camera controls.
Yeah, they're just here. Always going to end up messing with the focus generally.
It does look a bit
I've tried my best. You know, it is a webcam. At the end of the day, it's meant to look at people's faces, not but we do our best.
center screen.
There we go. People can see what I'm talking about. Right. Let's put that there, I guess, so that we can see chat and still see that. Hi! This is a bit different. I mean, I know that the focus thing is there. It's just I can never seem to get it in the correct focus. There we go. Got some energy as well. Fire. Bunch of grass. Loads of water. Considerably more water than all the other ones. That's the energy brick that I haven't even opened yet. I might work up a secondary chat window so that we can see people over here. Oh, of course it wants to update later. Update later. Remind me later. Stream manager. There we go. So we've got a version of chat over here as well. This is our setlist book. We're sitting in different chairs.
I'm over here by the technical side.
Yeah, which means I believe it's also tracking your face, not mine. Then. Might want to put the music on. Spotify.
Yeah, like that.
Here. Don't minimize it. Just have it open and then click off it.
Why?
Because when you minimize it, it stops updating the visuals for it. So the little the little player that I have in the bottom corner telling me what it is stops updating.
That's dumb.
I assume it's to save PC resources. If a window is minimized, why spend resources rendering it? Okay, what are you trying to do?
I'm just messing about.
How big do you want to make it? We've got other things we need to be able to see.
You do your thing.
I'm wondering if the face tracker is even a good idea, because I don't think the face tracker is actually tracking you, because you're not you're not really facing it or the right thing. So yeah, that's not even remotely tracking you. Let's turn it off.
We're testing out new ways to stream.
Yeah, this is a new setup, so go in there and to the craft window we'll have right after. Craft cam. That. To copy that. Here. Paste it in. Okay. Right.
There's an awful lot of stuff going on here, chat, that I don't understand.
So many layers. Oh, that was a Sylvia. So much involved when it comes to streaming. Like this. Don't want to change like this. We can just sort of like that, but we don't want to like change the size of this window because it will change how it appears on there.
Okay.
So I hope that is big enough for people to read. That's the idea. Right. There we go. So I don't have to worry about the face tracker. That's solely using the voice to text.
So, start us off then, Blue, because...
Right, so...
Where do you want to begin?
So we...
Do you want...
I probably will want one, just because we'll get cold. So those are HP tracking dice. go up in tens.
Have they gotten rid of 5 damage now then?
Yes.
Wow.
Everything is in tens. There's no
Was there ever
I don't think there ever was a 5. I don't know why you asked that.
I just feel like some of the old ones might have had 5 damage, but then I'm thinking of the TCG video game, and
you might. Yeah.
I don't think they did actually.
No,
have
I don't know
5.
where you pulled that from.
No, because they all had just single dots, didn't they, to mark? So it's always been.
Tens. I guess that's just part. I think maybe that's just part of. At the end of the day, it's a kid's game, so if you do it in round numbers, it's easier for you to keep track of a fire and a poison marker. So.
Yeah, because those two never had turns, did they?
it was I can never remember which one's which.
Upside down was a sleep.
That's a sleep. One's confused and one's paralysis,
yeah.
and then fire and poison.
Well, they never used to have burn. That never used to be a thing.
That's true. I did not.
Really old Pokemon. I mean, I never knew of burn. I knew it from the video game, but never from the card game. It was never implemented. Because realistically, they both did the same thing, except burn was a bit nasty because it lowered your attack in the game.
Something like that.
So what does it do in this one? What does burn actually do then?
I'm actually not too familiar with it. This just goes to show how little I actually play the game. And when I do play, I'm like playing online, where it's like computed for you. Yeah, this isn't an instruction book on how to play. This is a collector's guide for the set. So that is actually something you'll have to look up, because this is not a how to play book.
I'll do it on my phone. Where's my phone? Do it on my phone. Save messing about with what's going on.
If you scroll down on our document, because my hope is today, if you couldn't tell from the setup. Thank you. That we might try demoing some of the stuff we've come up with. We've only got very loose mechanics, but like I feel like the only way we're going to get the mechanics refined is by actually testing it. So if you want to go find the sort of like starter deck we quote unquote came up with, I will start sleeving up the cards that we are going to be using, because that way they will all be protected, and also visually when you have them flipped over they will look the same.
So starter decks are going to be, you pick your starter. Yes. So what starter do you want to try out in this little demo?
Let's go with Squirtle.
Going with a wet boy.
We're going to go with Squirtle. We'll put the grass and fire energy to one side, because we're not going to really be wanting them. It helps that this also gives us a mountain of water energy, which is the one we have the most of for some reason, right? They are probably not going to come into play today.
No. I was just showing them to...
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a coin.
It's a coin.
The burn special condition is the most recent one, officially recognised in 2002. So that's actually a lot older than I thought it was.
So, I mean, the Pokemon franchise is probably going to be getting to 30 soon. That was 20-ish years ago.
Upon release of the Expedition base set.
Expedition? I feel like that's Ruby and Sapphire generation.
The burn special condition is similar to the poison special condition. A rule change in 2016 taking effect with the release of Sun and Moon altered the procedure for a burn. The burn special condition is derived from Neo Genesis, in which Quilava's Char attack caused a condition exactly like burn. Char was not recognised as a special condition.
Yeah.
Prior to Sun and Moon, once Pokemon is burned, a burn marker is placed on it, and the player must flip a coin in between turns. If the coin lands on tails, 2 damage counters are placed on the Pokemon. Under some conditions, the burn damage may be increased by the effect of an attack, an ability, or a stadium card. Volcarona's Scorching Scales ability caused the afflicted Pokemon to suffer 40 damage. If the coin landed on heads, the Pokemon does not receive any damage, but remains burnt.
Oh, so it doesn't go away like poisoning does.
Well, poison never went away.
Well, if you did a flip, you could get rid of it, wouldn't you?
Don't believe so. No, I'm pretty sure poison was just you take 10 damage every turn. So I think that's the difference with a burn can heal away, but poison you could only get rid of with an item. Right. But of course, I'm quoting Gen 1. That is all I know. So my rules are beyond 25 years old, basically. So, but interesting. There is a difference. Okay.
So there's 4 water energy.
Yeah, 4 water energy and a Squirtle.
And then we decided to introduce this miss mechanic. So I'm going to put, because we've got lots of water energy, I'm going to put some water energy in backwards. And these are our miss cards. Okay. How many of these am I making?
Just 2.
Just 2 misses.
2 for now is what we decided upon.
So
we'll skip the supporters for now.
Yeah.
So you get a friend. So who's your friend? You're going to go for Pidgey,
It's
isn't it?
gonna be
It's going to be Pidgey because it's a freaking bird.
Yes!
You're not going to do Rattata because Mickey
No.
Mouse is now in the public domain in homage to the rat.
40 HP in a 2-cost attack. This attacks us 10 damage for each each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon, so that's a cumulative attack. But no. I'm going to be fighting some of those, probably. So I will have Pidgey. I've got some reverses, but I'll go with the plain ones.
So you just get 1 Pidgey, 4 energy cards that match your energy, so 4 water energy, because it's a water deck. And then another 2 misses because of its
1, 2, 3, 4.
Its highest attack is 2 damage, so that
And
equates to 2
misses.
misses. There you go. So we'll test that out.
So this is our starting deck. So the next question is, what am I fighting?
Well,
What are we going to test this against?
I think first off we need to determine what hand size you're going to have. So I think we said 3 as a tester, but obviously we don't know how
as
well that's
as a starting hand, because Pokemon doesn't have a hand limit per se. You just start with 7.
Yes, normally.
So,
but that is also under the presumption that you can only play 1 energy per turn.
Yes.
Whereas we're playing every card in our hand, and then whatever doesn't get used is discarded.
Yeah.
Because that's usually how deck builders work. You get your hand, you use what you can, and then it gets put into the refresh pile.
It varies from game to game.
Yeah,
they're not all like that.
The ones I've seen.
Yeah, because some of them are like you draw your hand, and you can only draw a fresh hand once you have played them all, but you don't have to play them all on that turn. So it's but it varies.
That could be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like or Armello's one where it is you draw back up to whatever the max is. So the more you play, the more you can get, which was why I was always so bad at Armello, because I just held on to cards and you were like, you need to keep playing them so you can get new ones.
That could be interesting.
So that's part of the thing to test, really. So there's our misses, there's our energy, and we have 2 Pokemon. That is our starting deck.
So I suppose next we need to determine 14 cards, yeah. Oh, 2 supporters, sorry.
2 supporters. Which 2 supporters are we going to go for, considering this is where we've started? Because I did pull out the Scarlet and Violet cards.
Why does it say pneumonia?
Oh,
Is that autocorrected?
That's autocorrected because her name is Nimona.
So you've got like a rival card.
Yeah, the rival. So there's draw 3 cards.
Something like a youngster, Arven, Boss's Orders, Saguaro.
I'm not sure I have Saguaro at the moment.
Rika and Rourke.
So I've got Arven to hand here. So Nimona, I think, is a good one for a start because it represents the rival and it's essentially build, draw 3 cards. So I think that's symbolic at the start of the adventure. You have a rival. Arven is not technically is kind of also a rival, but is one of those things where Pokemon has made multiple characters. So you've got like your main rival, and then you've got ones that are more kind of just your friends, but they still battle you.
Okay.
Search your deck for an item card and a tool. Not useful because we don't have either of those because we only have a supporter. So I think maybe a potion.
Search for item trainer was what we'd put down for Arven.
Yeah, that's what he is. So we haven't got an item, so I think maybe a potion and Nimona is probably a good start. That's sort of like your starting kit. When you start a game, you get a rival and you get a potion. These were just cards that we made a note of.
Yeah, items are different. So I think we put down you get 2 supporters, but you also get the potion at the start because of it being like an homage to the potion in the PC.
Okay.
So try putting.
We'll put a youngster in. Shuffle your hand into your deck and then draw 5 cards. So it's a hand.
So draw a new hand.
Hand refresh.
So I'll try that.
So those are the supporters we're going to go with.
So just out of curiosity, if you sleeve them up and put them in your deck, which will give you 17 cards, and then just draw 3 cards, see what you get, draw 3 cards, see what you get, and we'll see what the kind of, what the distribution is.
I realised that the music stopped because of us talking so much, which is a nice little thing that Spotify does.
How does it?
Yeah, if it detects that you are in Discord, and it thinks that you are talking too much, it mutes the song. And as far as I know, there is no way to disable it.
It's quite clever.
It's clever. It's also annoying when you're a streamer.
How does it know when to kick back in when it detects so many seconds of silence?
It doesn't.
Oh.
You have to manually turn it back on, which is why it's an irritant.
So it would be clever if it turned itself back on, like if it just like, oh, I've detected 5 seconds of silence. Keep the music back up. Whatever.
Right, so there's our 3 items, 2 Pokemon, misses, and a bunch of energy. So, I mean, my brain immediately says the chances of you getting your Pokemon is very slim.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, rather than constantly shuffling, drawing 3 and seeing what you get, like in the game, you can choose who's at the front of your party. So you can choose your active, but you can't choose a benched. So you have to draw your benched Pokemon.
Okay.
That's the thought.
In that case, well, logic would dictate that I'm going to pick Squirtle.
Okay.
Because that's what we're going with. So, again, this is where, while I'm shuffling, do we want to start thinking and writing down what the enemy's going to be doing? You've just started the game. Are we going to do it? Are we going to do it in traditional Pokemon sense, in that you're going to go up against someone who has a starter as well? Are you doing a rival battle off the bat versus one of these? Or are we, it's a trainer on Route 1 who has a Pidgey and a Rattata? Do we do a rival battle at the start? Because we are going to have type. Because unlike in the game, you don't tend to have a type advantage at the start because you've got tackle or scratch, whereas these guys do have type advantages, of which Squirtle has the advantage because Bulbasaur's weak to fire, Charmander's weak to water, and Squirtle's weak to electric, not grass. So Squirtle has the obvious advantage here at the start if you do that.
Hey, cool.
Hello.
Trying to think, because when you do the rival battle in the game, it's meant to be just a way of giving you like a boost of XP.
Yeah, and a little bit of a
tutorial. Like, this is what you can expect from battles, attack, use items if you really suck in your first attempts because you can't beat the rival. Yeah. But in this one, I don't know what the specific reward would be. And I'm trying to think of other roguelikes. You don't tend to have the very first encounter be like essentially a mini boss.
No.
So I don't know if a rival battle would work.
That's fine.
Might be something more akin to like Ruby and Sapphire, where the first time you use the Pokemon is just against a wild Pokemon.
True, yeah. I suppose when I say it's the first battle against your rival, that is a lot more older Pokemons. I think that they do that in Scarlet and Violet. Your first battle is up against Nimona, and she has the one that is strong against you. But I believe in Sun and Moon, because you have 2 rivals, one of which is the rival who's a douchebag, and one of which is the rival who's your best friend. You fight your rival who's your best friend, and your best friend has the one who's weak to you. And it's the douchebag one who has the one that's strong against you.
Mind you, Johto region, you don't fight the rival.
For ages as well, actually, yeah.
Silver.
It is only Gen 1, really, that you fight the rival right away, I suppose. So it's not actually, I guess it's not actually the normal that much these days.
Yeah, so we'll scrap that for now, but we need to determine what kind of encounters are we going to have. So we start the game.
Okay. Do you want to put the map on screen?
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a good way to think about it. So we've just started. We're in Pallet Town, Route 1.
So you're in Pallet Town. You've just obviously been to the professor. Is the thing you got your starter. So from there, the only choice you've got is to head through Route 1.
Yeah, head north to Route 1.
So Route 1 is just going to be there's no trainers in Route 1. Is
no,
there?
It's Pidgeys or Rattatas. So that's why I'm like, what do we find? If you find, how do we handle wild encounters? Do you find a Pokemon? Do you find a cluster of Pokemon?
Part of me thinks that there should be a small deck that contains the kind of creatures you would find on that route. So it wouldn't just be a Pidgey deck or a just Rattata deck. It would be a Route 1 deck.
Okay.
So it would have Route 1 Pokemon in it. Mm-hmm. But I'm also trying to think of like more interesting gimmicks, like little event cards where something can pop up to signify that something happens,
Yeah.
Like something happens on your journey to and from. So mix it up.
Well, this is one of those things where, because we're trying to make it may think an RPG, but it is a TTRPG because we're playing on the table. So if you want to think of this as almost like a D&D adventure book in front of me and I'm playing on my own, what is the book going to tell me to do? Is the book going to give me a table to roll on? Do I have a Route 1 table? Do I have a Route 1 encounter table? Do I roll on the encounter table and see what I get in Route 1? And one of the things that you could get is you find an item or an event. Go to paragraph 2.
I was thinking more of like there is a deck that you pre-build of. This is the Route 1 deck, and then every turn.
So in the book it says you've gone to Route 1.
I'd only just start open my mouth and you were already correcting me. Of like, no. Is this the spicy brain coming
Yes,
in?
it is.
I want to talk.
Do you want to carry on instead of just poking fun at me because this is how I am?
I love you
We'll
so
be
much.
here all day.
I
You're
know.
just going to keep laughing at me all the time because this is how I am. I'm not going to change.
Just, I wish you guys could see the embarrassment in her face. She's like, "Oh, he's called me out. What a dickhead."
It's not just that he's called me out. He's now making a whole thing. He's making a scene. He's making a scene.
I was gonna say that you'd set up like the Route 1 deck, and then we determine like there's a certain number of cards that you would turn over, and that's the opponent's turn. We can either do it similar to like Inscription, where you will see what's going to happen before it happens, or it's just you turn them over, and that's part of the gamble. You don't know what the opponent's going to get access to, what cards they're going to get. But one of those cards, in the same way that we have a miss card, there would be certain either like energy cards or certain trainer cards in the deck that, not many, but that could signify an event happens.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was sort of like. I was like, how do you signify an event through a card? And it's just one of the things where you just have to pre-write it out, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's also trying to think of what is a suitable event for like Route 1, for example, that would be different enough that it's something that you kind of hope might happen, or you dread happening, or is going to change things up a bit. In contrast to like the normal Pokemon world, like finding an item. That's obviously,
finding an item is useful.
Finding an item is useful, and as you say, we need to think of how does the fight end. Because if it's not like traditional Pokemon in that once the last active Pokemon is gone, it's game over, because the opponent might not draw their first Pokemon straight away, and you might be wasting your first few turns as you're trying to find essentially a Pokemon to go up against. So maybe it's a case of when you draw an event card, there you roll a dice to see what is your chance of succeeding in that event. Finding you've got the chance to find an item. Did you find the item? So it might not, necessarily happen. You know what I mean? In the same way of like, and you walk around just mashing A, looking for an item. Like, is there a hidden item here that I can't see? I don't know. Hey, Das.
Yeah.
Das redeems a stretch.
I did a stretch. Hope your painting's going well.
We're doing good, Das. We're doing good. We're just thinking.
Getting our ideas down. Literally trying to do the nitty gritty of how does it play?
Yeah.
How do you play it? We got the idea, we got the concept and the idea. How do you play it? How do you execute that?
But other than that, on Route 1, there's the person that you can find that can give you an item.
Yeah, the person from the Pokemon who gives you a potion.
Who gives you a potion. So I don't know if we want to go, literally one-to-one, considering you do start with a potion and it's probably going to be more powerful in this game.
Maybe.
As opposed to being...
I don't know. Again, this is one of those things where how true you want to be to the game is going to blur with how true you want to be to this, because it's like you want something to happen, but at the same time, this is Route 1.
Yeah.
You've got a lot to go through. Yeah. I can't imagine, because it's a roguelike as well, the amount of times you will go through Route 1, you kind of don't want it to have 500 things that can happen.
No. So I'm just trying to brainstorm for like what kind of things could we do, because you've played a lot more Pokemon games than me. What gimmicks did the video games come up with as to like things that can happen? Like, I know you can obviously have the cluster battles where there's like several of them.
Yeah, a lot of them don't get introduced until later. But obviously you can. Yeah, in Sun and Moon you could have swarms, which were 5 wild Pokemon appearing at once.
Well, let's have a look at ideas. So you could find an item. You could find a hidden item, because usually the hidden ones are slightly better ones.
So when you say what events happen in Route 1, I was sitting here and I'm like,
well, don't just think Route 1.
Yeah,
think Route 1.
That was the problem.
Think Route 2. You're playing through the game. What are the things where you're like, oh, I was on my way from X to Y, and then something happened?
Okay, find an item, find some trainer. You can find berry bushes, or the equivalent, such as pokecorns or whatever, but
how different are they to an item? Or are there berries?
I think there are berry items, yes.
Okay.
I've seen them in the past. I don't immediately have one to hand. It's one of those ones that we'd have to look it up on a database and be like, what berry items are there?
So we'll find a berry bush. If I could spell.
Depending on the game, weather effects.
Oh,
depending on the game.
That's interesting. Yeah, weather effects. I like that.
If you're in the desert, then there's a sandstorming effect.
Weather effects.
Which is then, do you go terrain stadium cards? Terrain
Potentially, could be potentially,
Yeah.
or we could just have a thing of like when this weather effect is in play, certain things happen.
Yeah.
What about like a more powerful, like an unusual Pokemon encounter? Like you're walking through, and then all of a sudden, like
rare spawns, I guess.
I don't think just Route 1. I'm talking just in general.
Yeah, I say rare spawns. I was trying to
Rare
think of
spawns.
just every route has an encounter table, and some areas do have encounters where it's
No,
like,
I mean-
there's a 1% chance that you'll find X.
No, I mean, what if you find something that's not meant to be there? Like
Oh.
sort of you're walking through and then a Rhyhorn appears and it's like, well, that shouldn't be here. That's only in the Safari Zone. Why is that here? Or, it could just, it's unlikely because it's an event that you might have to roll on to see if it even happens.
Yeah,
But
I guess you
rare
could call.
spawn.
I guess you could call it like a wandering Pokemon, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that's
similar
what
to,
they're
like,
called. Roaming Pokemon.
Roaming
Yeah,
Pokemon.
the
Like
the legendary dogs.
legendary dogs. That
Yeah.
could be late game of like you could unlock a threshold where it's like, well, if you get a roaming Pokemon, there's a chance that now it could be the whatever. Maybe if we did like a
Legendary
D6, when you do the thing, it's a D6 plus 1. So on a 7, literally rolling the max, you're now
the
rolling instead of
legendary
1 to
form.
6, it's 2 to 7. That could work because then
Mhm.
it's like you've unlocked. Otherwise, it's impossible to find the legendary. So
Yeah.
roaming Pokemon, that's cool. You could find one of the Professor's aides.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Professor Aid,
yeah,
because they usually do stuff
yeah.
while you're en route.
You can bump into your rival,
Random rival battle.
and because of how modern Pokemon is, you can bump into your friend who is a rival but isn't your rival, which tends to be a battle, but they tend to be like friendlier.
Mm.
Rather than a rival being like, I'm going to stop you. Your friend is just like, oh my god, you're doing amazing. Do you want to see how I'm doing? Let's have a battle for fun.
Encounter an evil team
Yes.
because they all have different names. So
Well,
evil
we are
team
in
encounter.
Kanto, so I guess
Yeah.
it's just Team Rocket.
They would be Team Rocket, but future-proofing it. Evil
True.
team for Team Magma, Team Aqua. I have now run out. Team Plasma.
Yay!
'Cause they had a good song. I thought their song was really catchy.
Did you?
Yeah, I like Team Plasma.
You've skipped Team Galactic because that was Gen 4. You went
I
straight to Gen
didn't-
5.
I didn't really play Gen 4.
I'm surprised that you knew a Gen 5 one. which
Yeah,
was
I remember Team Plasma, which was black and white. Black and white. I played
Yay!
one of those. I can't remember which one, but I didn't play much of Diamond.
Fair.
I did kind of skip. I don't even know if I owned Diamond. I might have skipped it completely.
I
But
don't actually recall you ever having it, considering our horde of DS games that the pair of us combined. I believe there's only one copy of. I believe there's only one copy, whereas we do actually have a copy of black and white, I think, and I only had one, so I assume the other one is yours.
yeah, I definitely got one of
But
them.
I think we only have a copy of Diamond, and it's one copy, which is mine. So I'm assuming you didn't have Diamond.
So an evil team encounter. What else have we got
What
that you
else
could
is there?
potentially find?
She's
Stacey has made me bread.
really enjoying making bread a lot, isn't she?
My mum got one of them bread makers, and she, for a while, was kind of just hooked on always making her own loaf. Just a fad that
It's
she
a fun
went
thing
through.
to do. Mum also has a bread maker. She just does it occasionally. Sometimes the whim takes her. But I mean, baked bread is good. Home baked bread is great.
Oh, she's making it by hand.
Yeah, it's good.
Damn. That's...
Needing it. Work out some of those.
He does need it.
Very weird.
Ah.
Working out some of those emotions. Branching path.
A
Because
branching
some routes lead to multiple routes.
Yeah, you could have it of like you jump down ledges or you have to cross like water or
Yeah.
Thinking more in terms of like maybe like the manga now of like when you see them or the animated series where they're shuffling along the side of a cliff and you think, well, that wouldn't actually be a
Yeah.
That-
So,
it's
what
just gonna be a
route
path.
is this supposed to be?
yeah, you just
Uh,
find a path. It's like, yeah, you could do weird things. Having
fishing.
certain Pokemon with you could allow you to take certain routes.
So that's adding into the RPG element of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, like Inscription, there's a branching path on the map, and you have an encounter, and it's like, you need to do this. Oh, you don't have the item.
Yeah.
I leave.
Fishing spot.
Yeah, fishing. HM interactables. A tree to cut down. A rock to smash. A pond to surf over.
How would you do an HM interactable considering there aren't any HMs?
Maybe that's part of the roguelike aspect of when you beat a gym, just instead of, because a gym badge is what allows you to use a HM, but then you also have to go get it. Maybe that's just part of the thing of you beat a gym, you have a HM unlocked, and that's just part of the roguelike aspect. Because that's how it was in Pokemon, you know, you go to a route and you'd be like, oh, there's a tree to cut down here, but I don't have cut yet. I'll have to come back later.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is that we've already said that we want to put a little time limit on, so you can't just run around and grind. So if it's like you've got to get the 5th gym badge to get a certain HM, and then come back for the random chance you might get an event that you've got to, you know...
No, for the roguelike, that's what I mean, because if we want it to be, as we said, because it's a roguelike, the idea is that every time you play through, you go through the start bit quicker. So if you have a tree at the start that you can't get past because you don't have cut, you get far enough to get cut, you run out of time and you have to start over. You come back, you can go down that cut route now because you have cut unlocked, and that lets you get further.
Oh,
lets you get further quicker, which adds to the roguelike aspect.
So you want the HMs to carry over?
Yes.
Ah. Okay, sure.
Because I think it's just I think that's just an easy thing to be. You got a gym badge. Here's a HM.
How many HMs are there? Is there enough to marry up one to one with the gyms?
I think there is if we take some of the HMs from the future gens. We have Cut, Flash. Flash not HM anymore technically.
Really not?
No.
Rock Smash?
Rock Smash I think is Flash, Cut, Fly, Rock Smash, Strength, Surf, Waterfall, Whirlpool, Dive, because water types are HM slaves. I know, it's ridiculous, right? You have to have a water type on your team, your government-mandated water types that you can use Surf, Whirlpools, Waterfall, and Dive.
Jesus.
And Rock Climb.
Rock Climb?
Rock Climb got added in Gen 4.
I've never heard of Rock Climb.
Yeah, Rock Climb.
I've heard of Rock Smash, but never Rock Climb.
To
heard of Rock Slide.
Scale up cliffs.
Okay.
So we could probably trim that down considerably.
We could probably make it less water oriented.
Yeah, well, this is why in modern Pokemon games now they've kind of done away with HMs entirely.
Yeah, they've got tools now.
Yeah, they've got tools, or you just have a companion that does it. Because in Scarlet and Violet, you just have Koraidon or Miraidon who can just do it for you.
This was what I was thinking when you were saying about HMs. You're going to head out. Catch you later, Hope.
Bye, Hope. Thanks for coming back.
I was thinking, what if we did them instead of based on HMs, you did them based on types and tiers? So you need a Pokemon of a certain type and a certain tier to do something. That's was what I was looking at.
Okay, that's interesting.
And you would obviously put a few little asterisks in there for like Fly, for example. And it's like, well, you can't really say a normal type, because that wouldn't really make sense, because there's a lot of flying types that aren't.
Yes.
So it's like, it would be anything that's like winged can fly.
It'd probably be one of those ones where you just have to put in a simple, because you also, if you make a game for other people to go through, it's one of those things where you kind of have to idiot proof it a little bit, so it would literally be an appendix at the back to be like, these are the lists of Pokemon that can fly.
Yeah.
You need to have one of these Pokemon.
But you could come up against something where it's like, you need to have a fire type, doesn't matter what tier, so what stage, whether it's basic or do they still have levels on the cards? They used to have as like flavor text little down the bottom that just used to say like a level 13 or just underneath the picture. I'm sure it did.
No, not on these ones. You are correct, they used to, but not anymore. It's got the Pokedex number, the Pokedex category, the height and weight, and then a Pokedex entry at the bottom. I don't see a level indicator on these anymore. But
that's a shame.
They used to have levels. So the only way that we could judge level is, I was about to say by evolution, but then there's single stage Pokemon, so that doesn't quite match up either.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, what if you found like, I'm showing my age, I was thinking like, oh, what's a stage 1 electric type that could be like the same as Pikachu? Oh, Electabuzz. It's not stage 1 anymore. That's got a whole tree.
Yep, it's got that's a second stage Pokemon technically, because it's
second stage. Stage 1.
From the TCG perspective.
Stage 1.
Yeah, because I was like, in my brain, I was in the video game. I was like, well, what? Stage 1 is the first one. That's not how it is in the confusing, because in the card game it's basic 1, 2, whereas in the video game it's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Maybe scrap the tier then, because power isn't necessarily determined by evolution.
No.
But we could go type, because you can go with the card type.
Yeah.
Colourless, dark, which could also include poison. Yes. So we could come up with different things that those types of Pokemon can overcome.
Yeah.
With some being obviously rarer, where it's like, why do you specifically need a dark type to get through whatever this is, whereas something like fire, grass, you can picture them being more versatile. So HM interactable / type interactable. That makes sense. What else could we have as things that happen while you're wandering about? Because I mean, find an item / hidden item, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's like the only reason it's referred to as an hidden item is because we can't see it, but this is a tabletop RPG, you can't technically see anything. So it is just find an item.
Berry, fighter trainer, weather effects, I really liked that one. Roaming Pokemon's always cool to have a roaming Pokemon pop up because it could pop up as a bench Pokemon. You might not even fight it. It could just be that you draw through and it just gets added and it's like, well, there's already an active Pokemon, so you just kind of see it. You have a sighting of it. You see a Ho-Oh, you know. Just something happened.
Nice story back.
Professor Oak's aide, or one of the, or even just find a professor. You find Professor Birch or whatever, and they'll have a thing
because they have cards.
Yeah, it could be that instead of what's written on the card, it could just be that it allows you to do something within our.
Or the card signifies that something happens, and then you know, again, it's like you drew the professor card. Turn to page 2.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Random rival battle, which would be different to a trainer battle, obviously. Evil team encounter, potential for a branching path that you find, fishing spots.
Professor Oak tells you can't do something and it takes up the turn.
Yeah.
Now's not the place to use that.
I can't think of anything else for now, but that's a good list of like event ideas. Yeah. We like that.
Music stopped again. Probably just leave that
up. Okay, so we've got that we can put events into each some of or maybe some of the decks, maybe not all the decks. Maybe it could be when we put in miss cards.
Yeah.
You could have here's the total number of miss cards that can go in. You say there's the potential for this many events. You put them together, shuffle them, and then you just deal out. So if it was like say you're going to have 6 misses in not in your deck in the root deck. The root deck's going to have 6 misses in, but there's a potential it could have 2 events. So you take the 6 misses, the 2 events, put them together, shuffle them, deal out 6 without seeing. So you've no idea whether you're going to get 6 misses, or there could be 1 event, or there could be both events. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so to keep the random elements.
Because we're not using these fire types, and we put some of these fire types in as misses.
So a root deck will consist of Pokemon on the route. Enough. I wouldn't say enough energy. Because now we've got to think. Now's the line drawing time of. We know how we want your stuff to work. Of when you've used energy, it goes to the refresh pile and you refresh. But probably doesn't work the same for the opponents. When they get energy, it probably just stays with them. And that's what's going to keep the challenge up of you have to make sure you keep drawing enough energy to combat them and to deal with the threat. Similar to like in Legendary when it's like the enemies are just always at their full strength when you choose to attack them. You've got to make sure that you're ready to fight them. That's what keeps the game challenging and interesting. So it could be one of them of like there's only a certain amount of energy in their deck. Because when their deck runs out, they don't refresh. That's the end of the encounter.
Yeah.
And whatever's happened has happened. And you get the chance to catch any that have been defeated.
Yeah,
in
which again
pile.
Is how Inscription works. They don't just send an endless flood of monsters at you, and then eventually you will clear the board.
Yeah, eventually it ends. So we'll put a set number of energy.
I think 5 misses there.
Miss cards. And potentially event cards.
I guess I'll go with grass because grass is the one that I've got the next most of.
Do we want to put in a few of the cards that switch up Pokemon around for the opponents? Because that will then keep it also fresh rather than you're constantly fighting the same Pokemon. It might be moved. based on what they've done, not what you've done, but what they've done.
Flip a coin if heads, switch out your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active slot.
So we'll put in...
That's a Pokemon Catcher is what that's the name of that card.
Item cards to change the routes. What's it called? The active...
The active Pokemon.
No, not the active, but the active... in play, the in-play area.
Oh,
the
right.
Root deck's in-play area, specifically. Because if the deck's getting kind of low and you're looking at the active Pokemon currently and you're trying to beat it, and then you flip over and it sends that Pokemon to the back, to the bench, then you're going to be like, oh crap, I wanted to beat that for the chance to catch it, and now there's a different Pokemon, and I've got to, instead of it being like in normal Pokemon where it's like you get it low, you throw a Pokeball, we'll just have a separate pile every time you defeat one of the opponent's Pokemon. It goes on a little stack, and then at the end of the fight it's like, right, I've got one of these that I can try and catch, and then you just pick it out, and then it'll be based on a dice roll or something, just to keep it simple.
Search for a basic Pokemon. Put a basic Pokemon and all the attached cards into your hand. Heal 30 from both. If heads, such a deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle 2 supporters from your discard deck. Discard your hand and draw 7. Choose a basic Pokemon if you have stage 2. Switch. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon.
There you go, that's perfect.
That's what I was looking for. I literally only have one of those.
So we can stick that in the opponent's deck.
So they've got. So would you give them access to both the ability to make themselves switch, but also the ability to force the player to switch? This is you can switch your Pokemon. This is the player is forced to switch their Pokemon. There's a coin flip. So you're here with your powered up Squirtle, and you've got a Pidgey on the bench, and it's like, well, you've got to use your Pidgey now. And you go, shit.
Yeah, because now you've got to potentially retreat, or you have to split your.
You've got to change up your.
Yeah, that's cool.
So a Pokemon Catcher and a Switch.
So now it's trying to think, because if you know that every deck that you're going up against on the route has those item cards in, you can plan around it. And I feel like
it just means that you know that you need to keep them.
But that's what I'm thinking is, should those, when we said like some of the missed cards will swap with events, maybe the event cards can replace some of the energy cards potentially, and then these item cards can replace some of the missed cards. So there might be these items in play that you have to watch out for, but there also might not be. You can't 100% guarantee, just to add that little bit of, you get what I mean?
I mean, I get what you mean. I'm just wondering how, because you have to assemble these decks before you play.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, so let's pick some arbitrary numbers just to go with. So let's say that the set number of energy cards based on what Pokemon is in there is 10, right?
Okay.
Just to pick an easy number. So let's say there's 10. So you put 10 energy cards aside. We also list the potential energies, potential items that could go in, which would be those 2. So you put those 12 cards together, you shuffle them, and you deal out 10.
Oh,
so you've no idea if there's 10 energy.
I see.
You see what I mean? And then you do the same for the missed cards and the events. If there's meant to be 5 missed cards, and you say, right, well, there could be, one event because it's Route 1. So I'll take the 5 misses and this one event card, shuffle them together, deal out 5. That's in the deck, and I've no idea which ones they are. So the event might not be in there, but it might also be in there. You never know. Oh, it's because I'm.
Yeah. Can you look at that screen? Okay, it's covered anyway, so that's fine. It's that side of the table.
Oh, right.
Because you got to remember that that's flipped. Remember, this is upside down. No, I mean.
I can also move it if you need me to. Then.
It's fine. I said this where there's nothing. It's been covered, so it doesn't.
Oh.
That's what I mean.
Oh, let's move over anyway so we can see a bit more. But yeah. So for Route 1, I don't really see any point of a branching path because it can't lead anywhere, so that's probably not useful.
Yeah.
A trainer?
No, not on Route. It's Route 1.
Do you reckon Route 1 should just
Route 1 should be basic.
Very basic, very boring, not a lot's happening.
I said you're gonna go through Route 1 about 20 times. I think that's probably about it.
Okay, so let's put together a test of Route 1 deck. Route 1. So obviously we've got Pokemon. What Pokemon are on Route 1? Good old Rattata and
Pidgey.
Pidgey. Energy cards. So eventually you're probably going to get access to things that will allow you to remove energy cards from the opponents, because if they're not losing energy, that can be a little ace up your sleeve that they, you can remove them from them. So probably at the start, there's enough energy for every Pokemon to have their maximum moves, and that's it.
Okay.
Just nice and simple. So then we also need to know how many Pokemon. So how many Pidgeys, how many Rattatas. So if a Pidgey and a Rattata, if it comes with, if we said half of the requirements that you had, so Pidgey can have two energy for an attack, so 1 miss. So two energy, 1 miss per Pidgey, because for you it's doubled, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that would be part of the deck.
So that's a Pidgey.
So that's 4 cards. So essentially every Pokemon that we had to Route 1 is 4 cards. So 4, 8, 12.
8. And Rattata.
And I suppose then we need to ask, how many should there be? Because obviously your deck is refreshing, but should it be that an easier route has less cards in it? So
I think so.
You're basically guaranteed to get through because it's a nice easy route.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It is the start of the game.
So yeah,
there's another Rattata.
there you go. So
2 Rattatas and a Pidgey.
there you go.
They're in there at the moment.
And then we would look at potential events, which would be the item card. Oh, and obviously those two go in because that's just the strategy of mixing it up. So chuck them.
So those two.
Oh, because we said we were going to replace potentially some of the energies or the misses or something with the items. I don't know which ones we agreed on. Pokemon en route. Set number of energy cards.
I'm guessing it's the misses because you can't be replacing energy, because if you replace all the energy, the Pokemon can't attack.
Yeah, they wouldn't have enough for all of their attacks.
So it has to be misses.
Replace some of the miss cards / potentially event cards, and then the items can just go in on top, I suppose.
So that's you and your energy. That's your miss. That's you and your energy. That's your miss. And that's you and your energy, and that's your miss. So these 2 items get put in with the misses. They get shuffled and then added back into here. Is that how we're doing it?
We'll try that, yeah.
So
for the time being, there's no events on Route 1
so
for the time
being. So I got 3 misses and 2 items. So how many of them am I putting 3 back in?
3 back in, yeah, because those were how many misses there were. So you won't know if and which items there are. Because I suppose the idea for your first route is you have a Pidgey, you would like to get a Rattata. Oh, actually, no. You might want to get another Pidgey.
I might get another Pidgey because of the whole stack mechanic.
Yeah, because of the stacking. So it could be, variety could help, but also
1, 2, out of play.
And those go
that's
in,
our deck,
and then that's
and
shuffled.
then we shuffle this again.
We'll give it a go.
And this is our encounter deck, so also not in play. There's my Squirtle. So there's the enemy deck. This is my deck. I did shuffle it earlier, but I will shuffle it again. There's my deck and the Squirtle. I'm just doing this in a way that's nice and easy for the camera to see. There's the enemy deck.
Centralise it a little bit.
Right,
okay.
So how do I do this? I'm just drawing to see what I have.
Your hand will be, we said 3 cards for now, so you'll get 3 cards.
3.
So that's what you've got.
I get a miss, an energy, which is good, and I get the youngster. Shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 5 more cards.
Okay, so that will be your deck. So now we need to determine how many does the opponent draw each turn.
Because this is obviously a single player effect, essentially. That's my hand, and it's going to be a sort of, flipping it and putting it on the table. So
yeah, they just happen in the order that they. So maybe 3 cards as well, but they happen sequentially. So
okay,
the first card is
an energy.
Okay, so that's going to be scrapped.
energy.
Okay.
Bad luck.
So the enemy does nothing for the first time, so you get a turn's breather.
So I'll attack the energy, attach the energy, and I guess use the youngster to get a hand refresh.
Okay, so you get...
Because the hand is 3 and the card says 5, do you think we should go 3 or go to 5? The idea is we're just going to keep refreshing.
I think we said 3 to begin with, just to keep it as a refresh, just to see.
So I got another miss and I got Nimona, which is great. So I'm getting loads of card draw. Wow, you watched me shuffle these.
Jesus, wow.
A Pidgey has come into play. And that was card number 3 though.
Yeah.
So all of these
hang on. When you use the card to get a hand refresh, wouldn't that mean that you would have had basically like another... You could have used those 3 cards beforehand. I thought that would be the point of a hand refresh, because...
Oh, true.
You know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just the end of your turn.
It would have still been my turn.
Yeah, so... You could have placed your water energy down.
Playing Nimona to draw 3 more. That's a miss, so I can't do anything with it. I've got Pidgey.
So you can play your Pidgey as your bench Pokemon, and then you can power it up as well.
This is why I'm wondering if we do need to limit, because suddenly I can play these as well.
You could play them as but when Squirtle first attacks, he loses all his energy.
True.
So would you want to necessarily play those waters, or would you want to put them on Squirtle?
Oh, I thought you said I have to discard my hand.
You would discard. That's what I mean. But do you want to power up Pidgey, or would you want to put some as bonus on Squirtle? Because you'd only discard the ones that you use. That's what I was getting at. Like,
okay, I want to put 1 on Squirtle and 1 on Pidgey.
Okay, so you do that, and then that would get discarded. Then that would have happened.
So now it's another fresh turn. So I get a water, and a miss. And the enemy gets a miss, and a Rattata.
So there's now 2 in play, 1 active and 1 benched. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to attach Pidgey and Squirtle, discard.
So you would get a free attack from Squirtle.
So he does 20 damage with Bubble. 20.
20 damage.
Flip a coin if heads, the active Pokemon is paralysed. Nope.
No, not paralysed.
Yeah. So, draw up. Miss
discard your energies that you used. So those 2 go to the back.
Another miss. Another Rattata into play. Switch. Switch your active Pokemon with one of the bench Pokemon.
So Pidgey disappears.
Pidgey gets switched with a Rattata.
There you go.
And then the last card is a Grass Energy.
So now, because it's still the opponent's turn,
they can now attack me.
They would be able to attack, but they don't have enough because Rattata doesn't have enough. But as soon as the opponent comes to draw, it's the end of the encounter because they've got no more cards to draw. So unless you could beat that Rattata this turn or that Pidgey, you don't get the chance to catch anything. So now we have to say, was the pacing of this fight fair enough that you could have actually done something? Because not really.
It doesn't feel like it, does it?
Doesn't feel like it, no. So we're going to need to rethink that then.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, they got all their energy at the start.
Yeah, that was so unfortunate.
But that's the kind of thing that you've got to take into account. You know, it's like sometimes that is how it goes. Yeah, the miss and the other item was what was in the other card.
So I suppose now,
fair distribution.
Potentially, from what I'm seeing from that was because it is much more. It's easier for you to sort of get and do damage because you can choose the order in which you do things. Maybe we don't give misses to the opponent.
Maybe the opponent is always doing stuff.
They're always going to be doing stuff, and that's what put the pressure on. So
okay, well, we'll take the misses out. We'll put this back in, and we'll shuffle it and try again. And see how it plays if they don't get any misses.
Sure. Try it. Just retry. Do we want to be doing 3 cards a turn, or should we drop it down to 2 so you get more opportunities to attack?
So I was getting a miss almost every turn.
You were getting a miss almost every turn, but you had enough. You were still getting an energy every turn, so you could at least, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so go again then. So you draw. Oh, you needed to choose your Pokemon.
Oh yeah. Shoot.
sure you must have one of them Pokemon mats out there somewhere as well for you to put your active, you know, what's on the bench and
So
whatnot.
a bunch of items and no energy this time around.
So that's unfortunate.
Energy. Energy.
Maybe there's too much energy in the opponent's deck, or maybe we need to determine like they start with an active, like you start with an active.
There's 4 energy in here, right? Because no, there's 2. No, there's 6 energy.
6
energy and 3 Pokemon.
And you still managed to draw 3 energy right off the bat.
Cool. Yeah. Right. Draw 3 cards. A water, Pidgey, water. So Squirtle, Pidgey, energy. So again, I'm getting set up very quickly. But that is partly due to the cards I've got.
Partly due to the cards, but also, I suppose the question for this one is, it's not about you surviving, it's about you killing stuff to be able to catch it. That's the idea. So it's like, if you don't have enough damage,
if I'm defeated,
if you're not doing anything, you'll just get through the battle and be like, well, I achieved literally nothing. So you kind of want to be able to do a lot of damage.
So this is one of those things where this item, the hand refresh, it kind of doesn't help me at the moment because it does the same thing as me just ending my turn and getting a fresh hand.
Well, no, because
it means that I could get more energy, but I can't attack anything because there's nothing to attack, so it doesn't benefit me.
Well, it lets you prep up energy for the next time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the potion won't be used, but obviously we said that you don't necessarily want to use the potion.
This is shuffle your hand into your deck, so both of these 2 go straight back into
your deck. So shuffle that in, you draw 3 new cards, and you can do with them what you will as your preparation before the opponent has its turn.
Miss and 2 water.
1 on the Pidgey, 1 on the Squirtle to prep it, and the miss.
Discard, and then the enemy gets Poker Catcher. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent bench Pokemon is switched to the active spot. Heads. So Squirtle has been swapped.
So Pidgey's now out. Yeah. Number 2.
Rattata.
Rattata comes out, and number 3.
The other Rattata.
Okay, so there's now 2 Rattatas.
See, this is the thing. There's 3 energy in their discard, so
they'll never be able to attack.
But both of these will never be able to attack. So it's like, well, maybe the enemy is supposed to refresh them, because otherwise, how are they going to get energy? Because this is the second time now where all the energy's come out at the start. So I think it is but both players need to be able to refresh their hands. Bad hand.
But if the opponents can refresh, this is only going to refresh when this runs out.
Yes.
But that's when we're saying the end of the fight is.
That's what I'm saying, is we might have to change that rule.
Trying to think.
Now I've got an energy here, Pidgey. Pidgey can now do tackle to do damage. 2 misses, unfortunate, goes into discard. Enemy's turn. Grass energy. Grass energy. Rattata can now attack. Ignore the wound. This does 10 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon, which is currently none. So it just does 20. There's that turn. Water. Oh, I had to discard those because I had to. Water, and the youngster again. Water, youngster. I just realised that he probably should have gone with discard. That's how trainers would. A miss. So I attack again, and I actually knock out the Rattata.
Okay, so the Rattata would go to his own little pile to say you have the potential to catch him. You can chuck the energies in. It doesn't matter, does it?
So this time round we did successfully defeat something. That goes into discard.
But then it would have been the opponent's turn.
Yes. G. Switch. Redundant.
And then it would have been draw number 3, which you can't do, so that would have ended the fight. So again, that still ended pretty quick.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the enemy using up their cards probably shouldn't be the end of the fight.
What I'm thinking now, I wonder if the opponents should have to use energy.
Maybe?
You know what I mean? Like, as soon as they're out, they can start hurting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Only you need energy because you need to keep finding it in your deck and you've got misses. When a Pokemon comes out, they just do damage. But maybe if we take all the energies out, it's just a case of you draw one card per turn.
It's just a Pokemon at that point. It's, do you have a Pokemon or do you have an item? If we're removing the energy mechanic from the enemies.
Ooh, I've had a thought.
Uh-huh.
if we treat this less like the video game for this instance, and it's just you're out there in the wild, there's nothing saying that Pokemon have to take turns to fight you. So what if, instead of energies, there are misses in there which you're looking forward to, because for every Pokemon that's out, they can all attack.
Jesus.
So that ramps up the difficulty for you.
I mean, it certainly does at the start. It does at the start because I would have died probably immediately.
Only on bad rolls, because if you've got to think, if there's all of these as misses, what are the chances of you drawing 3 Pokemon?
Yeah, all of them.
Well, I don't know if all of them.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if we're removing energy, that's it, and it's like, well,
you'll get owned.
Yeah, you'll get absolutely steamrolled.
But that's why if we take out the energies and we just put the misses into the opponents, don't need energy to attack you. They just attack you with maybe a coin flip. If they've got 2 attacks, you coin flip. Heads is the top one, tails is the bottom one. Otherwise, they just do whatever's the attack on the table. So you might get lucky with Pidgey, and it might look for more friends, but I don't know if that's necessarily good for you. But then the rest of it is just misses. So that's kind of what because if you draw 1 card per turn, you're like, please, for the love of God, be a miss, because I'm already dealing with 1 Pidgey. You know what I mean? Are you trying to see if there's any?
I'm just looking at like what higher level Pokemon are like. Articuno is it's legendary. If it can just turn 1, do 100, it's like, cool, well, I found an Articuno and I died. We're
going to come up with something different for Articunos, and for the legendary ones, we're going to do something a bit different because we want them to be more thematic, don't we? So not, don't go with them just yet, because they're meant to be ridiculously OP, aren't they? But
Magmar can do 80. Again, Magmar's a late game. Of course, it's got Rage.
Ooh.
4 cost Hyper Beam.
Hang on, follow me. What about this one? When the Pokemon enter the field, they have 1 counter on them, 1 energy card. After the next turn, they get their second energy until they reach max.
Okay.
So they power up. So you don't draw and play energy cards, they just get them for time on the field.
Right, okay.
So then the Rattata wouldn't be able to attack first one, because you go, oh, I've drawn a Rattata, put it down, it gets an energy because it's its first turn. Next turn, regardless of what I draw, it will get its second energy, and then that's it because it's reached max. So the energy cards aren't part of the deck, they just slowly get stronger.
Yeah, okay, that sounds alright.
Alright, let's try that. Let's go with that.
How many...
That's given us a big lengthy one. Had a giggle looking for a container for models while travelling, what is referred to as a very useful box, literal brand name,
nice,
and magnetic mats for the box. And you put magnets on your minis to ensure they don't move during travel. That's pretty clever. That is pretty cool. I'm assuming on the bottom, so they kind of stick to the... That's quite clever,
that's
actually.
Quite useful.
I've always loved the idea of using magnets with miniatures. Especially with stuff like Warhammer, where you can change, arms with swords for arms with guns and stuff. And so I like that stuff. I was watching some of the 40k and 40 minutes that Das recommended, and the little add-ons that they get from those third parties where you can just put like flames.
Yeah.
So it's like taking damage, so you can put some flames on it and stuff. And stuff. I like that. That's
right.
cool. Anyway.
I've got 3 Pokemon and 2 items. How many misses should I put?
Well, if we're only doing 1 card per turn, that essentially means how many turns should you get? If we want to say that you get to refresh and you actually get to, because at the moment you've gone through your cards and at no point have you had to shuffle your hand and draw again.
Yeah, the game has ended before I've been able to refresh my refresh. Because this deck of 12-ish was not enough. Of 12 turns-ish. I don't know. Well, it was 3, so it was... How much was it? It was...
Unless we need to limit your deck, because at the moment we've put enough energy cards in that there was twice as much for each attack. But if you're going to be refreshing, maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe that's the wrong...
that. When you said we needed to double the energy, I was like, I don't know if that's going to be too much, because that's how much that's you thinking of the base TCG where you want half your deck to be energy, but that's because you don't refresh your hand every time.
Well, let's try it with that then. So let's say you have enough energy per attack. So. Okay.
2 for Squirtle and
2 for Pidgey, and then we keep the number of misses the same because you want there to be a chance for you to mess up. Well, for now, we don't know. But yeah, them can go. We can leave them for the time being. Put them there. This is the whole point of this testing period.
That's my deck, and no misses in the enemy deck? No misses in the enemy deck, or some?
Yeah, we do want misses for these guys because that's your reprieve.
Right, so we've got 2 items and 3 Pokemon, so how many misses?
How many are in there if you're doing still 3 a turn?
3 misses. 4 misses.
How many cards total, sorry?
13.
13. It's fine if it's an odd number, because it means when you get the last card, then you'll just shuffle and draw back up.
Okay,
So
I've
that
got
means...
4 misses now, so we're still happy with that.
Still, for now,
Okay.
we'll see. But so that means that you'll draw 3, then 6, then 9, then 12, and
One
then you'll
left.
need a refresh. So
Yes.
every 5th turn, essentially, you'll need a refresh. So at the moment, there's your 5 cards. So then if we want to extend it, we could say another 5.
Yes?
Because we don't have to worry about their energy cost. They're just going to sit there and keep poking away at you.
So that's 10
And the
turns.
more Pokemon there are, the more pokes you're going to get.
Yeah.
Where you're going to have to start thinking, shit, do I want to retreat Pokemon, to the bench to put someone else at the front? Because obviously as a Pokemon trainer, you would choose to not have both Pokemon out. Unless you want the option that you could send both Pokemon out. But it means that whoever's the target could be down to a coin flip. You could have as many Pokemon out as you've got, but they all become viable targets.
Do I still,
don't know.
still pick my first Pokemon because I need to have it
You
out?
need to send somebody out, yeah. So we'd say the first one, but then it's down to you of like, maybe you can have the choice to put someone in the bench, retreats them. But otherwise you can have more than one active Pokemon, but they're all viable targets.
Mm.
So you could get them just all jump on one of them by accident, by coin flip. Try it. We'll try it.
We'll see what
That's
happens.
what this is about. We're trying stuff.
Right. Got a potion, Pidgey, and Ramona. Miss. Pidgey has come into play. And the Pokemon catcher.
Whoa! We said just draw 1 card.
Oh.
Just draw 1 card.
Okay, so the first turn was a miss and shuffle.
Yeah, read it. Otherwise, you're not going to have the chance to refresh. And I was checking chat. Then I missed what you were doing. Right. So
First turn's a miss.
Okay, so you get 1 turn to kind of prep.
Okay, so I guess I can put Pidgey out. Unfortunately, potion doesn't help me. And Mona lets me draw 3 cards. Which is water, miss, miss. So I power up Squirtle, and they go into the discard.
Okay.
Second
Opponent's turn.
tier.
Rattata comes.
I've just noticed that this time round, I'm making the enemy go first, whereas when we did it before, I made myself go first. It's just something I've noticed just immediately. It's like
I missed that.
I don't know why I've made that sudden change, so that suddenly I'm making the enemy go first, whereas this originally I went first. Now there's a Rattata in play.
Right, so it's turn 1 for Rattata, so it gets a grass. So Rattata. Oh, sorry, you had them ones over there. So yeah, so turn 1, so it gets that. So then
my
it comes to
turn now.
you. So
A miss, a water energy, and the youngster. So attach the energy, use the youngster, shuffle your hand into the deck. So put the miss back in. Miss. Another water, another miss. So I'll attach the water to Squirtle.
those 2 misses will go,
they
and
go
then
into
you will
discard.
attack.
I can attack with Bubble.
Does 20 damage. Does it paralyze?
Nope, not paralysed.
2 water energies
2.
go
Go back in there.
and then it's the opponent's turn.
This is basically needs to get reshuffled now because that's the last card there. Like that,
Yeah.
basically.
So next opponent card is
A miss.
another miss, but Rattata
it-
gets its second
It gets a second energy,
because it's its turn 2, and that's now fully
and now we
powered up.
flip a coin to see if it's going to hit me. It
Why?
doesn't. Oh, is it just going to hit me automatically?
Yeah, it'll hit you. It was if you've got 2 Pokemon out, you flip to
okay.
see which one
So I
because
just
it's
take-
all random.
So I just take 20 from the Rattata.
Yeah, and obviously it doesn't do more damage because that's its
Yeah.
effect is if you've
Yes.
already got damage. So then it's over to you. So
Water energy.
1,
The
2.
youngster again. So water energy. Power up Squirtle. I'm going to draw 3 cards. 3. Ooh, I'll use the potion to heal Squirtle.
But remember, if you use a potion, it goes from your deck altogether
Yes,
because it's an item.
That's been consumed.
So that would be gone for good. So you'd have to choose when to use that. You now would need to go and get another pot item.
True. I'll attach the water energy to Squirtle again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to use the youngster because using the youngster will put the miss back into my deck. I don't want to do.
Fair.
So I'm just going to discard.
So those get discarded. Opponent's turn. What do we get?
Oh, I attack.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Rattata's knocked out.
It's knocked out, so Rattata goes in its own little deck to say you can potentially catch that afterwards from a dice roll, a coin flip, or whatever.
Discard.
Yep.
Miss. Nothing happens.
So you get a turn to do something.
Water. So power up. A miss. And a miss. All I can do is power up.
Okay.
They go into the discard.
Opponent's
This
turn.
Pokemon capture. Flip a coin to see if Squirtle is swapped for Pidgey.
No.
It
Okay.
is not.
So you're alright this turn. Get another turn to do something.
Again. Miss. Miss. Mona. So, draw 3 cards. Youngster. And the NG.
Just 2, wasn't it? Yes.
And the other miss, cool. Attach the water energy to Squirtle because the Pokemon catcher's been used, so I don't have to worry about Pidgey being forcibly put into play.
Mm-hmm.
Use the youngster to shuffle my hand back into the deck, which is 3 misses. So again, same. I don't want to put.
You don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that, so I'm just gonna discard for the end of the turn. Too many misses, I think.
Probably too many misses.
Maybe it should just be a miss per Pokemon. Because currently there's 3 Pokemon, but 5 misses in that pile. Because I'm getting plenty of time to set up. At the start, I was a little bit, oh, am I? But now it's like.
Or I'm wondering if we should increase the number of draws to 2 again.
2?
From 3, so you draw 2 per turn, because then you could have 2 Pokemon come at the same time.
Yeah, we literally went from the game goes too fast to now the game goes too slow.
Yeah. So we'll try the same again, but with drawing 2 at a time. See what happens. I'm gonna remove.
I'm thinking
couple of misses.
maybe make the misses the same number of the Pokemon.
Sure, right then. We'll give it a
So
shot.
there's 3 Pokemon, so there's 3 misses. It's still energy.
Give it a go. Now we're drawing 2 cards.
See what happens.
It might be a case of if this one goes a little bit awry, the first turn that a Pokemon comes out, they don't get any energy, and then it'll be they get one the following turn and then one after. Maybe. We'll try that next, just in case. Because I have a feeling I'm about to see you draw like 2 Rattatas or something and get
There's
fucking
Rattata.
owned, or I don't know.
And Switch. Switch does nothing because I don't have another Pokemon.
Yeah, so it's wasted.
Potion.
Again, you did the opponent first.
That's something that's got to be specified in the rules of who goes first has to be specified.
Could be a coin flip.
I got a water energy, not enough to attack. I don't want to use the potion, and that's a miss, so discard. Pidgey comes into play.
I'm wondering as well, from the amount of times that you drew the supporters because of how small the deck is, that once you've used it, it doesn't go into the refresh, and it's like used for this battle. So you can keep refreshing it providing you don't use it, but as soon as you use it,
That's
it's not
also
gone for
valid.
good, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's tapped essentially.
Yeah.
Potentially we can try that.
Okay.
Anyway, so the next turn.
So this Reptile got an energy this turn because it was his second turn in play, and the Pidgey has appeared.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's this thing again. Water energy, Pidgey, and youngster. In play.
Mm-hmm.
Energy, youngster. Shuffle your hand. I don't have
You
a
don't
hand.
have a
I don't have a
hand.
hand. Then draw cards.
I'm wondering how useful that card actually would be. Just put your cards back into your hand to then get them again.
It's just one of those things where, like, if I'd had the potion, I don't need it anymore, but I might need it next turn. So potion.
It's
could
just
be,
to say the potion really for now.
Yeah. Got Mona again. Attach 2 energy to Squirtle because it's about to lose 2.
Ooh, what if we went back to normal TCG rules a little bit, in that you can only play 1 energy per turn, and that would make the other him more useful to put energy cards back into your deck that you can then draw the following turn. Maybe. So even if you draw 3 energy cards, you can only play 1 of them. The other 2 will be in the refresh pile, potentially.
Yeah.
So you could
currently
save
the
them.
enemy has to wait a turn to power up.
So we can try that out on the next one.
Yeah, let me play
Just
this
play it out as it is.
I'm not gonna use it.
Okay, so she goes away. So then Opponent's turn. 1, 2.
Another Rattata appears. This Rattata gains an energy and can attack me.
Oh,
I forgot to attack him.
Oh, yeah. So 20 damage, those to go away. But then the Pidgey also gets to do something, because you got to remember that these aren't benched. They're all out because it's a wild encounter.
Search for up to 2 basic Pokemon and then put them onto your bench. We know that all of the Pokemon are out. So it doesn't do anything. So that ends their turn.
So then it comes back to you.
Miss. 3 misses.
Your 3 misses were all at the bottom, so that was a fortunate turn.
I get a bit of a lame turn, but I had already powered up Squirtle, so Squirtle can attack again, so he knocks out the Rattata.
Okay, so that Rattata is gone. Because then obviously you can also choose who to attack if they're all out.
Yes.
But then that would mean that the one that becomes redundant, doesn't it? Because if they're all out, they don't need to switch to bench.
So there's no point having the switch in your deck.
In the opponent's deck.
This is where it might start to snowball, but we'll see. So Pidgey now gets this, and Rattata gets this.
Yep. So then you flip a coin to see what the Pidgey does. Which attack it does. Sorry.
Okay, but it doesn't do anything because it's a miss.
What doesn't do anything, sorry?
The Pokemon don't do anything, I drew a miss.
Oh, right.
They skip their turn, essentially. That's what that means. Right?
No, it just means nothing else gets added to their turn. They always attack at the end of their turn if they've got it. Just nothing new gets added in, no switches happen. So flip a coin to see which one Pidgey does. Will it do its tackle, or will it just essentially give you a free turn? So Tails is the second one. So you take 20 damage.
40 damage.
Rattata hasn't got enough to do anything, but will do next turn, so...
Yikes, what a hand. I guess draw 3 cards. Get them out of the way, I guess.
Wow. The look on this woman. Drew all the misses. So this is where...
I'm not going to use the youngster because I don't want those all put back in my deck. So I have a crap turn, but next time I'm going to draw loads.
Yeah.
I should have got rid of those, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Because I attacked on the previous
turn.
Yeah.
You got to remember to do. It's not in your.
It's not in my brain to have to do that.
Anyway, then it comes to the opponent's turn.
So they get a bunch of free hits on me now.
Miss. So nothing gets added.
Gets an energy.
Whatever, there you go. Grass energy, gets a grass energy. So then.
Okay, so we Pidgey
flip
first. Is Pidgey going to try to hit us?
Nope. They call family, but
and
there is no one to call.
Rattata does Gnaw the Wound, but it does 10 more damage for each damage counter. So that knocks me out because it's 20 plus 4.
So 20 plus 40.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because even though we use dice, 10 is 1 damage counter, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that does. So yeah, that does 60 damage. Squirtle's knocked out, so I've lost one of my Pokemon.
So essentially, if you're at half HP, Rattata will kill you.
Yeah. This is why I said this is where it now snowballs.
But it's about to become the end of the encounter.
True.
And then you will be in the next city, because this is your Route 1 encounter. This is your Route 1 deck.
So I drew water, I drew a potion, I drew water. So thankfully on this turn, I won't be using that, but I can attach these and I can attack. But it doesn't.
There's no point.
It doesn't matter too much, but I'm still going to do it. Doesn't matter. And then the Pokemon catcher, flip a coin to try and switch the Pokemon, doesn't do anything.
Okay,
so
but then you did get to the end.
Yeah, so they would attack me and potentially kill the Pidgey. That's the thing if we let them complete their turn.
Yeah, if it's no, because it's ended now because they need to draw and they can't, so it's ended.
Oh, okay.
That would be the end of the encounter, we'd say.
Okay, so this was technically a successful encounter. Squirtle got knocked out, but we knocked out a Rattata, which means we get the Rattata.
We can do some sort of coin, dice roll or something of you need to beat a certain number. Maybe it's based on, because obviously we can't do what status effects or stuff because that's too much to remember, but maybe it's based on how many of your Pokemon got knocked out.
Maybe?
Or,
Yeah, so this one felt a bit more
balanced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was a miss for each Pokemon and playing 2 a turn.
But we do need to change some of these items up.
Because they're now a bit redundant.
Some of them are a bit redundant. Pokemon Catcher can work, because that can make it a bit awkward for you. making you swap.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, when you're playing a game like Pokemon and the TCG, not every item won't always be in the right scenario. Like, just it didn't work in this situation because I didn't have a bench Pokemon to swap with. And it's like,
But
well,
later on in the game, you might do.
You might do, but I might not. You know, that's just the nature of the game. The time, if you get this on turn 1, well, shit, you're shit out of luck. That's just how the game is. You can't take it out your deck because it's like, oh well, it doesn't work. It's like, well, it's not that it doesn't work. You just got it at a bad time.
I'm just trying to think now of like other cards that aren't necessarily trainer cards, but that can represent trainer cards for things like Pokemon running away. You know, something where you could draw up and it's like the wild, you know, a wild Pokemon just legs it. Kind of thing. Stuff to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're making up a whole new game. I mean, there's obviously going to be teething problems.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why we're here doing this now. Because there is only so much that you can do just typing things out a Google Doc. You have to test it.
Yeah.
So...
A little thought did just occur to me based on how Legendary does it.
Right.
This would require a bit of a change of direction.
Okay.
Which I don't know if I 100% agree with, but just go with me on
Okay.
it. When you're attacked by the enemy, instead of taking HP damage, they would put wounds into your deck.
I'm not a fan of that for this.
Especially, see where I was going with it.
I can see where you're going with it, but at the end of the day, we are trying to use what we have in front of us, and if we literally have a HP system, we should use it. And as you saw, sometimes people draw all 5 of their wounds in one turn.
Your ability to draw cards is...
Astounding.
It's unrivaled.
It's astounding, really, isn't it?
Truly unrivaled. I mean, that was just... You drew all energies, then you drew all energies again, and then you drew all misses on 3 separate occasions in 3 separate decks. Just, how?
Are we happy with how the trainer deck performed and drew? Because we've modified this almost every turn. But are we happy with how this played? I felt like it was doing okay.
It was doing okay. I think part of the issue is the Pokemon game is obviously not built around variety. You know, you draw your Pokemon, you draw your energy cards, you do your turn. That's kind of it. Yeah. Trainers might throw in the occasional curveball, but that is kind of it. So,
There's a large part of a lot of Pokemon TCG battles. A lot of them do tend to be, I got my big boy out, I need 3 turns to put 3 energy on there, and you as the person who's fighting it is like, shit, I gotta knock that out before it powers up, kind of thing. We don't really have that so much here.
No.
Because I don't have a big boy to power up. I still have to power him up because he's got a 2-cost attack. But he's not a big, massive boy. It's not like once he's powered up, I can then steamroller everything. It was like, okay, well, I got 2 attacks off, but I still got knocked out. Because eventually the horde overwhelmed me.
It's do we do things like I don't know. It's hard because we're trying to take something that is built for dueling and we're trying to not have it duel, essentially.
Yeah.
1v1, but we're trying to make it a not 1v1.
We do have to make it a 1v1. Maybe we go back, because you added in the whole idea of maybe they can double attack. Maybe we should stop. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should pull back on that mechanic and still keep it a 1v1. But then still make it that maybe they get an energy every turn regardless. So it's like, I'm not going to get overwhelmed, but it is still applying pressure. Or like, they get an energy every turn and they don't lose the energy after they've attacked like I do. So even if I knock them out, it's like there's an enemy here who hasn't been attacking me, but because they've been building, they're ready to go.
Yeah. Okay.
That's still dangerous.
We'll try those. Try making small changes at a time and see what feels good. So we'll stick everything the same, but there's not all of them against you. It's just one at a time. We'll try that then.
We should is how Pokemon kind of should be. Because I know that they're Pokemon in the wild, but at the end of the day, we kind of want to make mechanics that are going to carry over into fighting trainers, and trainers will want to fight all the time, really. Okay.
Okay, I missed that, but what is that? It's Silly Heart Pokemon.
Hello, Mamola.
A what now?
Hello, Mamola.
Oh.
Fish. I drew a miss. I drew a miss. Water and a Pidgey. I fired and I missed. I fired and then I missed. This went on for several hours. Discard.
Okay. Bonus turn.
Miss. Nothing's happening. This is both good and bad because I'm getting time to power up, but it means that I'm not going to get these misses later on when I might need them.
Yes.
Miss. Mona. Water. Use Mona. Miss. Energy. I guess I'll put 2 energy on Squirtle. Yeah, on Squirtle. And discard. Pidgey comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Do we or don't we give it an energy?
I feel like it should because it's its first turn. Because otherwise, it's then got 3 turns before it could potentially do something to you, and it becomes a bit redundant.
So it does call for family to search for a basic Pokemon. So I search through here and find out Rattata. It was at the bottom. Shuffle the deck. Pidgey and Rattata are in play, but I'm not going to get swarmed.
Yeah. But
This counts as
Rattata's...
Rattata's first turn, so Rattata also gets an energy. Right.
Do we make it that the Pidgey will always do its best attack if it has the energy for it,
Potentially, yeah.
rather than it being a coin flip?
Yeah.
To keep the pressure on. So it will always do the attack for the energy that it's got. So if it's got an attack with 4 energy, it will do that 4 energy.
Yeah, like it's not the case with every Pokemon, but I know that for quite a few, there's a lot of Pokemon where they have a high cost energy attack that does a lot of damage, but part of the flavor text is they discard the energy, so they can't do it every turn.
So that would make sense, because if they have to discard, you remove it for that turn, and then they'd get it the next turn.
Tauros, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench, then shuffle, and the second one is Rage, 30 damage, but does 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon, so like gets worse and worse each turn, but it'd be a bit redundant if it didn't do it every turn. Yeah. Hyper Beam, 200 damage, 4 cost, discard the energy. So,
And then it's got to recharge by waiting 4 more turns before it can go again.
Yeah, it's like it did 200 damage, so you're probably dead.
Okay.
My turn. Potion. Miss. Youngster. Doesn't help. My deck is empty.
Oh.
So I use Bubble. 20. Hello, Boopies. How you doing?
Hello.
It's paralysed.
Oh. Nice. And that cost you 2 water energy.
2 water energy.
Okay.
Doing pretty good. How are you two doing? All right.
Yeah,
We're
testing it.
We're trying to make a game, basically. We're testing it. I've done this scenario probably about 6 times now, and each time we change it ever so slightly.
Yeah.
The other Rattata has appeared. He gets a grass energy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I get a miss.
So hang on, it's still their turn. They get to attack and stuff.
Well, Pidgey's paralysed, so I gotta flip to see if Pidgey can attack on him, right? Isn't that how this works? Do we need to? I think you need to open the TCG rules in a new window, because I mean, you can have it on a tab, but if you do it in a new tab, it will show on stream. Look up status conditions. Cards knock off Pal World. You're so funny. Do you have a legally distinct Lycanroc yet? I actually haven't loaded up that game yet. I've installed it, I haven't loaded it up. What are the rules for statuses? Excuse me.
I don't know. No, winning the game, starting the game. Parts of a turn, draw a card, do any of these, evolve. Use abilities, attack energy turn, check energy cost, weakness, damage counters, turn is over, special conditions. Burned, confused, paralyzed. It cannot attack or retreat. Remove the special condition during the in-between turn phase if your Pokemon was paralyzed since the beginning of your last turn. So he's basically paralyzed. It misses this turn. And then
so
it's fine.
it's just to skip this turn. Okay, so that Pidgey can't attack, and we're not having these guys attack, so I get a free turn. That ends their turn. It's unparalyzed. Miss. Kill me!
You cannot draw for Toffee. You cannot shuffle is probably the better way of saying it. You can't shuffle for Toffee.
Fucking kill me.
So, wasted turn.
Wasted turn. Thankfully, Squirtle was powered up last turn, so he can attack again. That doesn't knock out the Pidgey, though. This Pidgey has 50 HP. Can I get a paralysis again? I can.
Okay, so it's paralysed.
Right. It's now their turn.
It's hard to tell now if the game is bad or if it's just you're just bad.
Right. Mona, miss, and water energy. Attach the water energy to Squirtle, play Mona, the youngster, potion, water energy, attach the water energy to Squirtle, just put these back in the discard to shuffle and refresh it for next turn. I attack Pidgey and knock out the Pidgey.
Stream went down for a sec, apparently.
It did?
So, that's going to try and unlock some artifacts in the risk of the rains. Good luck.
Now, you say stream went down for a sec, but whenever Core says stuff like that, I always have to take it with a pinch of salt, because you say that all the time, Core, and it turns out it's just you.
No. Blue's just angry because she keeps drawing misses.
I'm trying to test if this game works, and I can't tell if the game is working or if I'm just bad.
Stream said to refresh the player. Wow.
Please refresh the player. That's a Twitch problem then, not mine.
That's it, Blue. Pass the buck.
I will. So I knocked out the Pidgey. Used those energies, which also need to be shuffled back into the deck. It's still down. I literally can do nothing about that.
We are here. Oh, me also, but I thought it was on my end.
Oh, so Twitch is having a shit fest at the moment.
Well, welcome to our podcast.
I mean, reduce the size of the Streamlabs window. It doesn't need to be. Come over to. I should have another I should have another Firefox window open, which is the stream. That's Discord. Firefox. That's Twitch. Status is excellent. Bitrate is steady. No, literally nothing on my end as far as I can see. Not like earlier in the week when we had drops. Like when we had drops earlier in the week, I could see them on the status. There's nothing here. You need to hard refresh. You need to hard refresh the page, not just the player, but refresh the page. Right, we knocked out a Pidgey. So one of the Rattars comes forward. It's now their turn. Switch. Pitch your active Pokemon, you bench Pokemon.
It does the same thing.
Does the same thing.
But they get.
They get energy.
Mm-hmm.
He can attack. I've not taken any damage, that's only 20 damage. My turn. I was about to scream. We had one energy this turn, so I can't attack. Their turn.
So, do they flip your Pokemon before they attack, which might be more beneficial for you?
I assume whatever happens in the deck is activated before the attack, because in TCG rules, attacking ends your turn.
Yeah, that's how I would imagine. So,
which is actually beneficial for me.
Yep.
So that would have knocked out Squirtle, but Pidgey survives that.
So this will be your last turn fighting.
Yes, because they went first, so they've had an extra turn. So now, water, blank.
So that's your lot.
Yep, because I can attach that. I can't attack. So I leave the encounter with a defeated Pidgey. This is why I'm wondering, my next question is, do we actually flip in order to catch this? Because me defeating something is not as common as we think it might be. It's not like I've got a plethora of Pokemon to pick from. I've successfully beaten one Pokemon and I've only done it twice.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and because of our mechanic of condensing to make an evolution, the amount of times it would take me to get a Pidgey, I would be grinding a lot, which I kind of don't want. So is it just you defeat it, you've got it? Because now I've got 2 Pidgeys, which doesn't really increase my odds all that much yet still.
True.
So I'm wondering if it's just defeat it and you catch it.
Maybe we should look at going back to some of the more original rules of, like, not so much prize cards, but maybe something else that will determine the end of the fight, so that the opponent does the similar thing to what you're doing, like you said before, of they will also refresh, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's a case of how far do we go back before eventually we are just doing Pokemon TCG, but automatic, where it's just you versus an AI, yeah, essentially. But
well, that's why when we start, I start to go back to when I say like how we had an encounter table that we roll on. If we roll an encounter, you then go to the paragraph that is that encounter, and that paragraph maybe has the instructions to be like assemble this deck, and then it also has like a win condition as part of it. Since it's a TTRPG, you should just have the document open. Like I rolled encounter 6. Encounter 6 needs me to assemble the deck with these cards. It needs me to shuffle them and discard 2 unidentified cards. And the win condition is I knock out one particular, like if it's like a horde thing, it's like, oh, it's like a flock of Pidgey and a Pidgeotto. It's like the win condition is just to knock out the Pidgeotto. So I could knock out as many Pidgeys as I want, but if the Pidgeotto is still there, I haven't won. Kind of thing. That would just be like an example. Like your very early basic ones, you're a trainer that's just come out of the Professor's Lab, it's Route 1, so your win condition is probably just knock out 2 Pokemon, or I can't even do that, knock out a Pokemon. It's like, it's my first battle, woo! I got 10 XP, yay! It's the start of the game, you're not going to get a lot.
I just noticed as well that you've got your books the wrong way around in these stats.
I'm using that to mark which one I'm on. I've read the 13, 14 is the next one I need to read.
What if? Because there was a rule that I read for Legendary, which I couldn't find again, which was kind of odd. But that said, the scowl on. Right.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
I need to drink more water, I think, because I've hardly had any of this water, and yet the glass is mysteriously nearly empty.
Clearly you're lying. But in Legendary, there's the scheme twists, and I'm sure I read somewhere, whether it was on Reddit, maybe as like a
rules clarification.
Maybe, yeah. But it said that the best way to put the scheme twists in was, instead of just shuffling the whole of the villain deck together, it said split it up and put a scheme twist in like 6 piles. Shuffle each of those piles and then just put them on top of each other so that they're split
balanced.
out.
Okay, that's a good way.
So I was thinking, what if, with the opponent's deck, we put a card somewhere near the bottom, which is you make it to the next town. Something that would register as
an
Viridian City.
Card,
Once this card is drawn, you've arrived at the next city, so that is what dictates the end of the encounter.
Okay. I'm also wondering, like, do we do the same thing? Like, it works out, but I'm just wondering for the sake of, like, balance of the last couple of games I've had 3 turns, which have been useful to power up when nothing has happened because I haven't drawn the Pokemon. And I don't know if we should let the enemy do what I'm doing, where the hand is shuffled, but they at least put a Pokemon out.
Yeah, they start with...
Because I suppose at the end of the day, if you have already rolled on a table and you're having an encounter, why are you then encountering nothing? It's like, well, surely the whole point in this narrative, the reason we have this mechanic is you've encountered a thing. Is that not what we're doing?
Kind of not, because it's just this is your travel through Route 1, so if there's nothing at the start, it's you walking through sort of no grass. It would be what it's replicating, but is that fun? It's not really fun.
Yeah, well, that's why I said maybe we should do it more like a D&D approach of having an encounter table of, like, there's loads of different things that you can encounter in Route 1, and those things are represented by various decks. So you have an encounter with a Pidgeot, you have an encounter with a youngster trainer, you have an encounter with a professor, or whatever, and they all have different decks that do different things.
What if we still keep it as you're walking down the routes, but we treat it more, instead of it just being about battling Pokemon, you actually have to spend the resources from your deck permanently to get to the next city. So at the end of each of your turns, you have to remove something from your deck to carry on. Like, you're spending energy, as in, like, you're spending Pokemon stamina to progress, but that is why you might have more energy cards in your deck. So if, at the end of each of your turns, you have to discard... It's rather than, you draw a hand, but instead of discarding it at the end of your turn, you just keep drawing more and more cards, but there's more of a cost that you've got to pay each turn. So you're constantly trying to make sure you've got enough energy to pay for, like, your movement through or something. See what I'm trying to think about? The way I'm trying to think about.
Yeah, I am wondering. I know that because it was originally your idea to be like, oh, you discard your hand every turn. But when I think of things like inscription and stuff, you don't do that. Maybe we don't use that mechanic actually. Okay, maybe we don't do you discard your hand and draw it fresh every turn. Maybe it is more like traditional Pokemon where you start with a hand of 3 and every turn you just draw a card and it's up to you whether you're going to be playing them or not. Do we go back to more, if we're going to make a change, do we stick more to the traditional Pokemon of you can only play 1 energy a turn? If I'm only drawing one.
You could do that, but then something we need to address is the misses. They don't really work because if you're drawing cards and you draw a miss, you've drawn nothing that's helpful. Yeah. But it's also just going to sit in your hand.
Well, maybe we introduce just a rule of, like, you, again, sort of like D&D terms of having, like, actions of, like, you can do 1 attack action, you can do 1 energy action, so maybe you can do 1 discard action. So maybe it's in place of that, of, like, I could attach an energy, because that's how it works with wounds, isn't it? Of, like, you have to basically give up a turn to discard the wound, right? Am I remembering that? So if that's my hand, and it's like, well, I could either attach this energy or get rid of this, it's like, well, I'm going to use my turn to get rid of that. So it's out of there, and I've got rid of it. But I had to give up my turn. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep drawing and keep getting blanks.
I know, but if your option is... Because are you still working under the pretext that you would eventually get to the end of the deck, but there's no discard pile for you to then shuffle from? Ooh.
This is the thing, because we're working on such a small deck.
What I was thinking was, if we, instead of doing the misses as misses, if when you draw these signify drawing from the opponent's deck.
Okay, it's an enemy. The enemy gets something.
So it says the enemy does something.
So I get one of them. It's like, I've triggered the enemy.
So you draw the next. So they obviously wouldn't have misses because they don't need misses anymore. The enemies have always got stuff in their deck that will do something, but it's down to you, just constantly drawing your turn.
So
and that signifies when the enemy. So you don't have your turn, enemy turn. It's just your turn.
So,
but that signifies.
So essentially, our adventure of going through the route of our stamina is essentially our deck.
Yes.
Of, like, we're doing stuff. But that represents us taking a step forward, which means you've encountered a wild Pidgey.
Yeah, that's what
so instead of the enemy deck being our stamina, our deck is the stamina.
Yeah, and we can put stuff into your deck that signifies the enemy stuff, but we can also put the end of the game in your deck. Oh, actually no, because we can just put all the end of the game into here, can't we?
Yeah.
Because it's then once you've drawn so many blanks, they'll trigger.
Yeah, so you have your deck, and then as part of the encounter thing on the table in the book or whatever, if you have an encounter, it's going to be like put 5 encounter cards into your deck.
Yeah.
And then build
that's
this,
part,
and
that's
then
part of
build
the
this
route.
yeah.
The route determines how many encounter cards get added to your deck.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it'll be assemble this deck with these cards. That's the deck, and then it's going to be put X amount of encounters into your deck. So that's the deck that you've got, and then it's like, cool, now we play. So you're going to draw out a hand more like a traditional one. You go, oh well, an encounter happens. Then I drew another
It would have
one.
to be in an order.
Yeah.
So it would have to be, you draw your first card, what is it? You draw your second card, what is it? You draw your third card,
Yeah.
what is it?
So
to
this is a
see what
sequence of events.
I'm liking that idea. That sounds kind of cool. But we do need a card in there to say when the end is.
Choose a card to signify.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. We need a card. One miss.
The one miss for them is the end, and you signify. Make the deck, shuffle it, pull out the bottom 3, put that in,
Shuffle.
give them a
yeah.
shuffle.
So it might be the last card, might be second to last or third to last, but somewhere in
And
there.
that's the enemy deck. And taking the energy out
Yeah.
briefly, and then this is your deck, much like I was doing. Because again, you're just playing on the table with yourself, so it's not like you really need to hold it in your hand. It's just enemy card. Wild Rattata appears. I get a water energy. Youngster, owner, enemy encounter. A Rattata appears, and then it's like, okay, so what do I do next? So I'm gonna attach the water energy. I'm going to. These have triggered, so they go away, and I'm gonna end my turn there. So I'm gonna draw again. The encounter happens. I'm forced to switch.
Mm-hmm.
That goes away. I'm forced to do an encounter, kind of thing.
That kind of works a bit better. But
Roughly, that was a very rough mock-up.
yeah. Just getting because we've looked at the old one, we've gone, doesn't really work. We need a new system.
Just approach it from a slightly different direction.
Yeah, different angle. So, if that's the case, do we go back to more traditional Pokemon trading card game in that you don't discard energy like you did before,
Maybe yes.
but we stick stuff in the enemy deck like energy removals,
Yes.
and you will only have barely, you'll like maybe have enough energy +1
Yeah.
for all of your attacks.
Yeah, which
Not
is-
per Pokemon. So if you've got like 10 energies would max out all your Pokemon, you get 11 and that's it.
Which then brings these cards back into play, because originally we were like, well, these are useless, because, they bring basic energy from your discard pile into your hand. And it's like, well, this now has a use again, because your enemy can get rid of your energy, so you want to get your energy back. So cards that we had originally, a lot of cards that were get stuff back from the discard pile, we were like, well, that's redundant because we're recycling our discard.
Yeah.
So now we're sort of bringing these cards back into play again, of like, well, we are going to have a proper discard like the actual Pokemon game. So just
And if that's the case, if it's all down to what you're doing, and what your opponent's doing, maybe there are cards in your deck that will determine when you attack and when your opponent attacks. So it's all just done from you just constantly drawing your cards. And there'll be some cards that will be forced to play. Like any cards that interact with the opponents, they are guaranteed, but they're ones for yours. Like you say, like you might say, well, I'm going to discard my hand and not attack in order to get rid of certain bad cards or something along those lines. I don't know,
because the way I was saying was that if you drew one of these, it would immediately cause the enemy to do something because it was like, well, that action's happened. Because we were saying that our deck was actually a little bit like a stamina bar in a way. So it's like, well, when the action has been done, it's used some stamina. The stamina goes away. Like, that's not a discard. That's just like a stamina pile. So is that literally what that is? It's the enemy draws and attacks. Both. Or is it typical Pokemon in that, it's my turn, I draw a card. Maybe this is a bit like a creeper in Flux. I drew a card, oh, it was that. They do something, I'll draw again. And now I'm like, cool, I've got my hand, and I'll attack and do my turn. Enemy gets to attack because the Pokemon is a turn-based game pretty much all the time, so it is always a case of you take the turn, the enemy takes the turn. But if you draw one of these, it's like, oh, the enemy gets an extra thing, it goes out of play.
Hang on, let's return to the drawing board, because we've made a lot of changes here, so we need a kind of version 2. So, revised rules. So let's.
So we're going a bit. So we're getting rid of the whole recycling and going back towards a more traditional TCG approach of having your hand and your deck and a discard pile.
So let's right. So we're gonna have player's deck. So you're gonna have your deck, and there's going to be the would you call it the root deck? I suppose is probably the root deck. So there's going to be a root deck. There's not going to be any prizes. Your cards and their cards. The only cards that will be drawn is the player. So each turn you will draw cards. The opponent doesn't draw cards. You just draw cards that signify when the opponents, a card is revealed or when the opponents do something. Okay. So player draws X cards per turn. So now, what I'm thinking, we go either one of two routes, in that when you draw your hand, you draw the cards one at a time and they happen sequentially. But that would only be working for the opponent's deck, wouldn't it? Because if you draw a miss, you just draw over the top card. But basically, if you drew 3 misses and 2 normal cards, it's the same as you just flip over the opponent deck 3 times. So what I'm thinking is you draw your full hand, and that will essentially tell you that there are how many cards the opponent's going to flip over and how many cards you've got to play with, and then you can make a decision based on how many of those are you going to negate and put in the discard pile. But if you obviously don't have enough to negate them, then they're going to happen.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
I think so.
Slightly.
It's one of those things where we, having the standard hand of 7 probably wouldn't work for this, because if we haven't got these misses in, our decks are very small. That's the deck without the misses. So if I've got a hand of 7, I've got half of my deck in my hand.
So, wouldn't be 7.
So it wouldn't be. So we wouldn't have it as 7. So again,
I think 3 works.
3 works
because 3 allows you to have balanced with one of each kind of card, or more biased to them or you.
So are these guys essentially acting like creepers of, if you draw one, you immediately have to play it, but then replace it.
Beautiful mind.
What a beautiful mind.
Too much thinking's been going on.
Alright. I've been thinking about a lot.
So let's start with the stuff. So in the root deck, what is now going to be in the root deck? There's going to be wild Pokemon.
Items that you can find.
Items to find.
Which are not the same as items that would do stuff against you.
Items to affect play. The easiest way of putting it. The root finish. What signifies the end.
The difficult part for that is what defines an item that you have found and an item that the enemy has used. Can you distinguish those two? Is this a potion I found, or is this a potion that is being used to heal the Pokemon I'm fighting? How do you distinguish those?
I wouldn't imagine that wild Pokemon would have potions to use.
You know what I mean? A Pokemon might use a berry, but we haven't got berries, so this is just the healing item. What's the distinction? Is this a switch?
Which way it's put inside the sleeve. If it's upside down.
Ah, okay. We could do it like that, maybe.
That's just a signifier of you draw something that's upside down. That's for you. Because when you've set it out, when you flip over the deck, it will be the right way up for you, or the wrong way up for you.
If you play, because much like this, I was just going to play it like this, because you're not playing against someone. So why is it going to be? Why you don't need to play it like that. There's no one. I'm not facing anyone, so I was just play it like this.
I don't know. It just seems simpler. Of like, this is your side, this is their side, rather than left and right.
Yeah, but but that's just because if I was playing like that every single turn, I have to go right. He's going to attack me.
Oh, fair.
Because I can't read upside down. So that's why I'm playing it like this. I'm not playing against anybody. So, every single turn it would be like, he plays a switch. What does a switch do?
Alright, fair enough.
So, I'm not going to play them upside down when it's only me. But I mean, you can put them in upside down to be like, it's for you, but that literally you could just as easily put a little mark on the card to be like, it's, if you want to do it that way, we can.
Just a thought. So items that you find that are for you.
So literally find it, take it out of their deck. I guess flip it the right way around in its sleeve, and then it goes into my deck.
Into your discard pile, I suppose.
Yeah, into my discard. Because obviously I would have to take it out of the sleeve and flip it, because otherwise I'd be able to tell.
Yeah.
From
you're about
the sleeve.
to find an item.
So it would be a case of it comes out, it's upside down, so I know it's mine. So I take it out, flip it back away the right way around, and then put it over. So that's mine now.
I'm wondering as well if we have several's the wrong word, but multiple root decks that you're playing at the same time, and what card you draw in your.
Just leave it. I'll tell you about it later.
Oh, okay. What card you draw in your deck determines which one flips over. So one card means you find a new wild Pokemon. One card means you draw from the item deck. You don't know what's going to be in that particular pile, but you draw from that deck to say that you found something. So you'll have like the main root deck, which is full of all the wild Pokemon and stuff that is, or and potentially other trainers that you find. But then if you draw certain cards in your deck, it allows you to draw a bonus card to add to yours. You find a wild item, you find a berry or whatnot.
Okay.
Or something that will stop play and say that the game has changed because you've now gone into a Pokemon battle. So the fight ends immediately. The route ends immediately, and you have a normal trainer encounter because you've encountered a trainer, and then you go back to the route. But whatever cards were already lost are gone. You just reshuffle what's remaining, and then you pick it up and carry on. See what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I'll write it down.
Yeah. So, multiple root decks.
Yeah, this kind of say it's a deck. Again, this is just essentially another way of doing what I've said, which was it's an encounter table, basically. But you're making it out of cards.
Making it because it's a card game.
Yeah, I know.
You don't want it to be.
But that's essentially what it is. You're making it an encounter deck, and in that encounter deck is the various things that you can find in the root.
So, multiple decks. You'd have the root deck. You would have item deck.
And then, not necessarily for Route 1, but for other routes, you would have trainer decks. If you encountered a trainer on this route.
Yeah, so the trainer.
What does that...
Oops, that's control.
What does that trainer have in their team? Because different trainers will have different teams. You encounter a hiker, they've got Machops and Geodudes. You encounter a youngster, he's got a bunch of Rattatas. But they're in the top percentage of Rattatas. The top percentage of Rattatas.
So, with this root deck, if you've got wild Pokemon if you've got the Pokemon in this deck, these are the Pokemon, this is the Pokemon deck, it's not really the root deck, it's the Pokemon deck. In there will be your wild Pokemon, your roaming Pokemon, your energy cards that power up the Pokemon. And if there's more than one that's currently out, you would do some sort of coin flip or dice roll to say who gets it. Maybe there's also attack cards in there that signify when they attack.
Maybe.
Or maybe the attacking is if you attack, they respond and attack back.
Yeah.
But then you could also have ones where they get an attack for free because they drew that card.
You don't want to just have it that they attack each turn and I attack each turn?
No, I'm trying to think of something a bit more... something a bit different. Okay. Like, you drawing your cards is you're seeing what's about to unfold and you get to choose the order. Because it doesn't really make sense if you draw in 5 cards and 3 of them are bad cards. What if 2 are first and 1 of them was last and then you've got the other ones in the middle? Does that mean you draw 2 from the opponents and then you get to do something and then the last... Because it's a bit confusing. Okay. So if you've got all the cards in your hand, you can say, right, I've got 3. I've got 5 cards in my hand or whatever. 3 of them are opponent deck ones. I can play these in any order. I'll play one. Let's see what happens. And if it's something really bad, then I can be like, actually, I'm going to do the stuff that's going to benefit me, playing energy cards or trainers to respond. Or you might say, fuck it, I'm going to do my stuff first, and then I'll play the 3 bad cards, which is the opponent gets 3 consecutive things that happen. So that's why I'm thinking, instead of it being you attack, they attack, if there's cards built into your deck that say when you can attack, you can hold on to them and use them when you want. You know what I mean?
Are we going to keep them the same as these ones? Are these enemy cards, basically?
Which ones?
Just our blanks that we've been using. Is this an enemy card?
This is where we might have to start using other energy cards, because the colours will help tell us what is happening.
I mean, at the end of the day, I can just use this and put a piece of paper in that says it's an attack card.
Yeah, I suppose you could.
Because it's one of those things where the more you do it, it will start to get confusing, because if you fight one trainer who's using grass type, so you've got fire as your basic, but then you come around in another playthrough, because it's a roguelike, you're using fire, and it's like, well, shit, I've got to change all my misses into grass again. So it's like, well, if we just keep these reversed cards, because they're nice and easy to use, because it can be a reverse of anything, it doesn't matter, and just put a little bit of paper in that says it's an attack or it's a this.
Yeah.
Because again, if we try to make like a trainer that signifies an attack, and it's like, well, visually a lot of the trainers are obviously very similar at a glance, because they have just the artwork, so it's like, it would probably just be easier to be like, these are event cards, and we stick a bit of paper in to say what the event is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to top up that water.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Talking a lot. Music stopped again.
When are we taking a break?
I mean, I normally go until 5.
Till 5?
Which is...
Oh. The day's gone quick.
Pretty sure it's been 3 hours already.
Just turn the mic around to face me. Right. Yeah, if anyone's there, what's the general thoughts on what we've got so far? Like the thought process, I suppose, is the best way of describing it.
More water. I just realised that we can't.
Honest, I'd like to provide help, but I've been playing Final Fantasy 14, so I kind of spaced out on most of it. Fair.
That's fair. It's a Sunday, it's chill. If you've got anything you want to put input in now, you can. you thinking? What are you thinking?
Because I was thinking, if we stuffed the Pokemon deck with lots of different Pokemon, drawing repeats doesn't add them to the bench. That signifies when they can attack.
Oh, okay. Could do it that way.
Because then the opponents can have a discard pile.
Does mean I need to get a lot more of these because I've only got about these are them. So I have 4 Pidgeys and 3 Rattata's.
What if instead, because there's not going to be a discard pile for the opponents, because obviously once you reach the route finish, game's over. So what if, when you draw an attack card and they do their attack, it gets shuffled back into the deck?
Okay, you could do it that way. As you say, since it doesn't signify another Pokemon.
It's just their attacks keep coming.
Okay.
So then you would have to have a separate deck then for where the route finishes. Maybe that would go in the item deck instead, because the item deck's like your bonuses of like you being able to find stuff. But
yeah, it was just you putting on the cable. I feel like I need a USB extender. Because it's already plugged into my USB hub, and my USB hub can't go any further than that, so I need just a USB. I need a USB male to female extending cable.
Maybe in the item deck, if you've got so many items that you can find on the routes, and there's in your deck the chance to draw from something that would signify you get to draw from that deck, that is what could also signify the end of the run.
It's a little confusing to me when I see you've written down here that you've got multiple decks, but the way you've written that you have multiple decks in play. I thought you meant there would be like multiple decks to show what you encounter. Like it feels a bit weird to. For me, it just feels a bit bizarre to be like I'm drawing from 6 decks.
Well, you're not drawing from 6 decks.
You know what I mean? It feels a bit complicated to be like I've got to draw from this, then this, then this, then this.
No, remember when we played Binding of Isaac last night?
Yeah.
They had multiple decks.
Okay.
That wasn't confusing, was it, as to which one you draw from?
So
yeah, look at this. So I've put 3 decks down here. The trainer deck's only going to be on the table if there's a trainer for you to come across.
Okay.
That just means do you have the trainer battle, and that will pause everything else and you just do the trainer. So that's not going to be there for most of it. So you'll have basically the Pokemon deck and then the bonus deck, which is only going to be a couple of cards as to whether you find something. That's it.
So what's the ruling as to when I draw from each one? Am I drawing each one each turn? How do I?
You draw just from your deck, and that will signal when to flip their cards.
Okay. Yeah, that's
so you have a hand of 5 cards, and then 2 of them might be the Pokemon deck. You might have 2 energy cards, and then one of them might be the item deck. But it's down to you whether what order you play them in, and if you discard them. Because if you think the run's going to come to an end by drawing from the item deck, you might say, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to discard it, and it's going to go in your discard pile. And so then at the end you'll refresh and draw a new hand, and it keeps going until that's drawn. You see what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
But then you could also delay the route run for as long as possible.
The only major issue I've seen so far is the way games can be dragged out or go way too fast is the dangerous balance. Mainly, yeah. At least we have the benefit of this is meant to be a single player experience. Is basically what we're trying to do. You know, the Pokemon TCG is a PvP thing. You always play against a person. This is a single player experience, so we don't have to balance it in terms of what if you're fighting against another person. It's like you're going to be fighting against the deck essentially. So at least we haven't got to balance it in that regard. The volume of cards to be needed to play, you know.
Yeah, but Blue likes collecting.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things, as you know full well yourself. If you're into a hobby, you end up collecting loads of it, Mr. Warhammer Man. If you're into Pokemon, you're probably going to have enough cards to play.
Yeah, and you.
It's not beginner friendly, but it's not meant to be.
So. Unless the end of the route is in... No, because if it's in your deck, and the whole point is that you discard stuff and then you draw a fresh hand.
I thought we were doing away with that mechanic.
Is that going? Is it just going to be you've just got your deck and it goes through until...
I thought that was the idea.
Oh, so the end of your deck is the end of the run?
Yeah.
So we don't need... Yeah, so
okay. Cause that's why these trigger... these are events that you trigger. That's why I'm saying you put a little bit of paper in these to say that they are triggering something.
Yeah.
And then they just go away.
Yeah.
Because it's like... You don't need to do, like, you could have a discard pile in the sense, like, sort of in the sense that we're going a bit more back traditionally towards the TCG, rather than just to complete new game from scratch, which is why it's the whole, you play one energy and you attack on your turn, and you have a hand that you're actually going to be holding on to. So maybe, obviously at the start our deck's quite small. The idea of it being a roguelike is we're going to get more and more and more stuff. So at the end we may actually have a 60-card deck by the time you get to Giovanni. And you may have it's a proper battle that's going to take a long time, which it should, because it's a battle against a boss.
Okay, so instead of this, it's players' starting hand is 5 cards, just an arbitrary number. Player draws 1 card per turn. If it is an enemy card, just an easy way of referring to the opponent's deck card. If it's an enemy card, it must be resolved immediately.
Yes.
I guess.
Music stopped again. It's very funny to me whenever I notice that the music stops, because if the music stops, it means that we were really avidly. I've told you not to move. It means that we've been really avidly talking about something.
So player draws 1 card per turn. If it's an enemy card, it must be resolved immediately. It's in the starting hand. They can be resolved in any order. So if you draw your first hand and it's got negative stuff in there, because it could be like 4 negatives. Well, if if it's a lot of negatives, then it's just gonna own you right from the off, isn't it?
This is why a lot of deck builder card games have essentially a turn order. That's why they have, you do this, you do this, you do this, the enemy does this, this and this. That's why I'm saying, why are we not using the you attack on your turn, the enemy attacks on their turn, like Pokemon does anyway. Because that's how it goes, Binding of Isaac, as you said, it was, we draw a card, we play a card, and we attack. That's a lot like Pokemon. Draw a card,
it is, but the opponents would only attack if you attacked. That was the difference.
Yeah. So maybe it's the same here. So maybe we make a little crib sheet to be like, this is the order of play. You do these events, or you choose to do them in this order, kind of like Alchemists. Of if you lost, it's like you can choose to either buy or take points. You choose which one you want to do. And then next, you got that little flowchart at the bottom. Go through and we do this, when we do this, we do this, we do this. We have a little order of play that you go through every turn.
Okay, well, what would your order of play be? How would you want to do this? Because I've done a lot of the...
So, naturally for a card builder, the very first thing you do is draw a card.
Okay.
Step 1, draw a card.
I hate your keyboard.
What's wrong with my keyboard? Why
it's
are you...
just... It's so easy to just press every button at the same time. Might as well be typing with my face.
I don't know what to tell you. It's a keyboard. Alright. Wait.
It all just stopped responding to me then.
Cool.
Draw a card.
Spook crashed Google.
So start of your turn, you draw a card. How many cards do you want to say you have at the beginning, or do you not have a hand to begin with? You just draw a card and you hold it.
Maybe you have a starting hand. I mean, let's use the number we've used before. You have a starting hand of 3. Let's use the number we had before. These numbers may change. So you have a starting hand of 3. Do we want to do?
This is down to you now. What do you think?
Should we do it? I mean, because at the end of the day, in Pokemon, you always have to have a Pokemon out, otherwise you're not doing anything. So, much like we have done before, you go through your deck, you pick your Pokemon that's in your first slot. So, So this is part of setup rather than turn order. So setup is choose your lead Pokemon, get a hand of 3.
Choose an active Pokemon, starting hand of 3.
That's part of the setup. And then
Each turn you draw a card.
Each turn you draw a card. Each turn you play an energy if you can.
Play an energy.
If you can. Play a supporter if you can. Because supporters, it even says on the card, is a maximum of 1.
So 1.
Max of 1. Use any items. Items are unlimited. And then the end of your turn is when you attack. So the question is, do we put anything in between end turn by attacking? If you can. Or skip. So in between drawing a card and playing and attacking, do we put in a thing to be like, now the enemy has a go, or do we make the turn order of do all your stuff, now it's the enemy's turn and they'll do all their stuff? It's almost like coding.
This is what I'm leaving to you. What do you think would make for a fun experience? Because at the start we liked the idea of having the encounters in the player deck because it signified stamina, but this is just the turn order of the Pokemon game with the add-on of like once you've used an item it's removed from the deck, but other than that it's basically the Pokemon game.
Yeah. He was offended by Spook. So maybe we do have maybe instead of using our deck as the stamina, we do go back to having an enemy deck.
Okay.
And it's just again part of the turn order of draw an enemy's card. I feel like my issue with the last time was that it was very inconsistent in that there were both turns where the enemy was doing so much, and then there were also turns where nothing happened. And it's trying to find that middle ground, which is why I think that part of the setup should be you pick your active Pokemon and the enemy has an active Pokemon, because then from the get-go something's happening. Because I think the first 3 turns where there was nothing, I was just building a building with these boring ones. Like I can't do anything. There's nothing here for me to do. So part of the setup is there should be an active Pokemon for you to fight. At the end of the day, that's what this game is about. You fight Pokemon. So setup is Pokemon for you and a Pokemon for me. So we've immediately got something on the field happening. Pikachu. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah. See how it goes. Yay! I'm just thinking. I'm trying to think. If these are put into our deck, how can we use them? If we have them all labelled as different things.
What if, instead of having 2 decks for you and the opponents, what if there was just 1 deck?
Maybe.
And then you would draw, not necessarily a hand, but you would draw the turn, and then you play out what order you want things to execute in.
Problem with that is if you've got 1 deck that everything is pulling from, if you draw a Pokemon, Pokemon? Is that a wild Pokemon or is that your Pokemon?
Well, you'd obviously know which one your Pokemon are, but I see what you mean for like energy.
Well, if I caught a Rattata and there's also wild Rattata appearing, is this my Rattata or is it the wild Rattata?
Well, the opponent's deck can be sleeved upside down to signify the difference between that. And I suppose so could the energy if that's the case. Have you drawn your stuff or your opponent's stuff?
Maybe the opponent's deck is actually literally like a card stock, almost like I've got here, where the cards are all just here and you can see them, and it's these ones that are shuffled in and labelled as to what happens. So all this stuff is here, but then I draw it and it's the card is enemy, puts it, Pokemon, enemy Pokemon. So enemy Pokemon comes into play. Enemy item, enemy whatever. It's so hard.
It is. It's because you're trying to make a game out of a game.
Yeah.
That's what's the hard part. But
Yeah.
this was the kind of stuff we used to do as kids.
Yeah, well, that was the whole reason this entire thing started, because this is what me and my brother did, but we didn't think too hard about it because we just played the TCG. We just did, oh, you're on Route 1 and you kind of found a Pidgey. And then we played out the battle and then we went, yay, we're going to Viridian Forest, next battle. That's the inspiration behind this entire thing. Yeah, which is why it's confusing, because it is finding that middle ground. If we're trying to make a game, but it's like, I do want it to be kind of like the TCG, because if it wasn't going to be like the TCG, why are we using these fucking cards? you know, we want to use what we've got. So it's trying to find that awkward middle ground, basically. Does anybody have any input? I know this is probably, like mud to some people because you don't play the game, and we do.
Well, I've played Pokemon trading card game for a long time, and only old versions.
I know, but you know the basic rules, which is all that's needed.
Basic
Yeah, you know the basic rules. This is why we chose this set, because it doesn't really have a lot of complicated modern stuff in it. It's a puzzle, and I don't know what the answer is, because no, but I like both ideas work is the thing. You could have one deck.
If we went back to the prize, I'm gonna keep it. But this is Mandarin to me, and I have very little to recommend.
Understandable.
What if we went back to having prizes, but the prizes are like Pokemon to add to your deck? The whole reason you go through Route 1 is to catch some Rattatas and Pidgeys, so maybe you would have Rattatas and Pidgeys, you'd shuffle them up so you don't know which ones they are, and those become your prize cards.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's a good way to do it. Prize cards are you catching Pokemon.
So as you beat them, they get added to your, not a discard pile, but they just get put to one side to say you will get these after the battle.
Yeah, because standard format for a TCG battle is 6 prizes, but you can do smaller. So because
you
it's
can do
Route
3 or 2.
Yeah, because it's Route 1, you can just be like, well, 2 prizes.
Do things to
yeah.
Or
so then that's your aim.
There is more prizes, but it's when you get 2, that's when it finishes.
If you want to do
so
it like
you
that.
don't know which 2 you're going to get. You might get 2 items, and amongst those prizes there could be some blanks.
Yeah.
Because it's just a wasted journey.
Yeah, it could also be items.
Could be items, yeah. Could be items, could be Pokemon.
So again, that's when you put a little stipulation in your little encounter table of win condition. Take 2 prizes.
Yeah. This battle will finish when either you're defeated by running out of all your Pokemon, or you've drawn 2 prizes. But then the opponent's deck can be something that keeps recycling, because it's a route. You will just keep fighting. Once you defeat a Rattata, it doesn't go into the discard pile. It just goes back into the deck. And there will be something in maybe your deck or the opponent's deck or something that signifies when you get a prize. Because normally you get a prize by defeating a Pokemon, but if that's the case, when you defeat the Pokemon, you would just say, that's my prize, because that's the Pokemon I've beaten and I've captured them. So it's, do we want to do that, or do you want to just have a separate pool of prizes that once you've done some arbitrary or some preset things, you then get to draw from these random prize cards or from the prize deck if you want to just have it as a stack of cards as opposed to laid out. I don't it doesn't matter.
Like,
It's
it doesn't
random.
matter at the
It's
moment,
random.
yeah.
You choose a random card. You know what I mean? Something that's within the enemy deck. Maybe it should be the enemy deck, because if your deck, you just keep going through yours until your Pokemon run out.
Yeah.
You go through the opponent's deck until you've reached these two arbitrary points. So you've reached the halfway point of the route. You've reached the end of the route. And that is, you've reached prize 1, you've reached prize 2, and then that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But then there can be, maybe there's some things in your deck that you put in that are not misses, they're reshuffles where you shuffle the opponent's deck. So at the start, the halfway points and the end points are preset. It's the bottom card, and it's a card about halfway through. That's the end point. But then when you draw a reshuffle, you shuffle the opponent's deck. Now you've no idea where the 2 prize cards are. And it could mean that you have a shorter journey, because they could follow fairly sequentially. And it's like, oh, well, I had a short route, so I didn't get the chance to get too much. Or it could put them both close to the bottom. But they're just 2 cards that just say, you draw a prize card. And because you've got to keep reshuffling, it could keep putting those prize cards further and further to the bottom, and you might KO before then.
I like the idea that I like the standard idea of you knock out a Pokemon, you get a prize, because at the end of the day, your Pokemon it is a Pokemon battle. So at the end of the day, the goal is to knock out the opponent. Okay. Well,
so do you have it then of when you defeat a Pokemon, you get it, or you have the choice to draw from the prize deck?
I guess in the gaming standpoint, we'd make it a prize pool, prize deck, because if you're battling trainers, you can't take their Pokemon.
You can't take their Pokemon, so that would be you have to draw from the prize deck. But I mean, instead of you're going out and fighting, you're beating Rattatas. You don't want Rattatas because you want Pidgeys. So do you want the Rattata, or do you want to draw from the prize deck?
Okay, yeah, so we'll do it like that. Yeah, do it like that, I suppose. So yeah.
And then other than that, is it just going to be plays out like normal Pokemon?
Maybe it does.
But obviously,
but with our base rule tweaks that we've made of like how you get evolutions and stuff.
Yeah, but then there's also how does the opponent, like when they draw a hand, how do you play their hand optimally, or do we just do it of the turning over the top card? Do you want to keep they gain an energy per turn to show them powering up?
Yeah. So that amounts to the same thing basically, because our deck is so much smaller. We're also more likely to get the cards we need. I've only got three items and 4 energy, so it's not going to take me long to get the things I need for me to power up, so they can also just power up.
It's also going to be quite a boring deck for you to play. This is why I was thinking of putting stuff in your deck that signifies when the opponents do stuff, when they get to draw stuff, because
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just recycling through. I drew energy. I drew energy.
I guess you're right in that regard. I guess maybe combining them is a good way to go. It's just doing it in a good way. I don't know if it would have to be doing the way you did describe the scheme shuffle, because I'm worried that if we just took X amount of the enemy does this and shuffled them into your deck, that we would again by sheer luck or my atrocious draw ability, I just get my turn, my turn, my turn, my turn. Nothing happens. Enemy turn, enemy turn, enemy turn, enemy turn. I die. So it's a case of like, how do you do you do a shuffle it, do a deck split, shuffle it, do a deck split, stack them all together?
Or if
there's nothing wrong with that.
Or if you keep the 2 decks separate, and each turn you draw so many cards from your deck and so many from the opponent's deck, and then you resolve them in whatever order you want.
Maybe the card that we put in here is just a draw from the enemy deck.
Yeah,
that's all it is. But again, it's keeping it. Again, my concern is keeping it spaced out. I'm worried about having 3. The enemy gets a go.
Yeah,
but is that one of those things where you just kind of have to go suck it up as part of the game, or is that a flaw in the game? Is it a flaw or is it a feature? Who knows? So do you do the fancy shuffling thing to make sure that it's even?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. There's nothing wrong with that. If you make it so that every turn you draw 3 from your deck, 2 from the enemy deck, and they just go into your hand.
Hearthstone's deck builder, you got to pick one of 3 themed packs of 3 cards. At an arbitrary point, you gained unique treasures for the run.
That sounds familiar. So yeah, that's kind of what we kind of just said, of like in the enemy deck are the stages where you would get prizes. would have been what I'd said, but you like the idea of beating Pokemon and you get those
because that's the
Pokemon.
core of the game. Because for me, at certain points you get, you get things or you get items is kind of like the beating the gym or meeting an NPC. Like, here you go, you found a fishing rod, you've been given HM cut, you've been given one of the Eevee dice, you've evolved your Pidgey, kind of thing. These are the elements that we discussed before of the sort of out of battle events that you can do. It's like it's too much to think about. Knowing where to go.
It's probably just one of them. If we might need to look at what we've got, take a break,
maybe
come back to it at a later stage. But for the time being, let's solidify the bits that we did like.
Because we actually did some demos today.
So what are the things that we want to take forward for the next time we ever think about this? What out of everything that we've said do we like the idea of? Prizes.
Yeah.
We want to try the prizes, so
yeah. It feels very Pokemon to me that your reward comes from defeating the enemy. That is the simple purpose of that is how Pokemon is. You defeat the enemy, you get XP, you level up. That is the core of the franchise in a sense.
Prizes signify the end of the route. Your goal each route will be to draw X number of prize cards. Prize cards can be earned by
Out of Pokemon.
knocking out wild Pokemon. That's kind of it.
Because it's just knocking out Pokemon, because regardless of if it's wild or if it's owned by a trainer, you'll probably still get a prize for it. So it's just knocking out Pokemon. You need the wild bit. Wild Lairon. This is the thing of, like, we've experimented with having two separate decks that play side by side, and now we've talked about having like one deck that you play at all, and I'm literally 50-50 if I don't know which one I want. We haven't play tested the other one, so I don't know how it handles, and I don't know what cards we're going to use, so it's hard to solidify whether we do or don't want it yet, because I genuinely don't know if it will or won't work. It could be good, it could be the way to do it, but I don't know.
Well, part of my thought was, if you have drawing from your deck and drawing from the opponent's deck into one single hand that you then resolve, if we make it so that you have more energy cards in your deck than, similar to the first iteration, you can discard energy cards to discard the bad cards to stop you from having to draw them. But obviously that's using up a resource, because then they go into the discard pile, and then you resolve whatever's left of the turn, and it finishes with the you attack, they attack. It just happens sequentially, and then it's like, right, we're back to drawing phase, and then we go again. But eventually you're not going to be able to discard all the energy cards to discard all the bad cards, the opponent's cards, because you're going to need them for putting them on your own Pokemon. So eventually you are going to have to take that hit of, you get to draw, something happens for the opponents was the thought behind it, but it's the what. It just feels like we need more cards that do things, because otherwise both decks just consist of Pokemon and energy, and that's it. So that's why I liked the idea in my head of, you don't declare when you attack or when the opponent attacks. a card dictates that for you and moves things around.
Okay.
That's what I thought was interesting, because that could mean there could be times where the opponent gets multiple attacks, or you get multiple attacks, or you draw an opponent's attacks, but they don't have the energy for it, so it's wasted. That kind of thing.
Okay.
Or there could be cards that say opponent retreats, so they move to the bench. Or if they're on, if there's no active Pokemon, then that does nothing, that kind of thing.
So I guess the next time we come back to this, we'll want to maybe get some paper and some scissors and actually write out some of these alternate actions and assign them to some cards.
So we want to play test
alternate actions.
Action
So
cards.
these aren't now miss cards. These inverted cards are now action cards, and they'll just do something different. Because the reason that we would use cards like this and put a bit of paper in it is basically so that when you're drawing them, the cards visually look and feel pretty much the same. Because if you just put a piece of paper in here without anything in them, you'd kind of be able to tell that this is a sleeve with next to nothing in it. They're very floppy and very obvious when they are empty versus when they are full. That's why we would do that. Is we would put a blank card in and then a little piece of paper in there to say what it actually is. Because I did say back when we talked about this last week of it's not because it's not competitive or anything. You can do proxies, so I could literally design a different card that kind of looks like this, but it says like attack or whatever on it, and just put it in there.
Yeah.
As a thing to do later on down the line. So maybe that's maybe the only reason that I'm torn about it is because I haven't seen it in play in effect.
Maybe it could be one of them of when you draw the cards, if you've got an attack and the opponent's got an attack, you can discard your attack and their attack to cancel each other out. Or you can say, I'm going to play them, which means I'll take damage from their attack because it will actually play it as an attack. But my attack's going to do more, so I don't care. Yeah. But you could have them, I'm just going to discard these two cards.
Like your opponent of well, I might take damage from this, but I'll knock them out, so it's fine.
Yeah, something akin to that. Something that just dictates when things happen as opposed to it just being back and forth. So it feels more like an adventure.
Yeah.
That's the thought I had.
Yeah, because it is an RPG that we're trying to make it in. Okay. So, yeah. So
things to playtest. We want prizes that will signify the end of the route.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal will be to draw X number of prizes. Prize cards will be earned by knocking out Pokemon. I'd like there to be another goal for that. So whether that's forcing the opponent to have discarded so many cards in this fashion of so many attack cards or whatnot.
Okay.
Just something else that says that you did something good during it, rather than it just being just go out and kill Pokemon, because then it's very basic. So, or doing something good against the enemy, like forcing them to play bad, discard cards, etc. Something like that. We want to playtest action cards which signify when you can attack and retreat and when the opponent attacks and retreats.
Yeah. So make some mock-up ones real quick at some point. Just get some paper, just write the word attack and
the thought of if you draw something that signifies a trainer battle, then all wild Pokemon disappear and you have to fight the trainer with their active Pokemon. Just takes the place because you could be at whatever state, you could be weakened, but that is usually the way it goes, isn't it?
That is the way I need to go back to the Pokemon Center. No! I don't want to fight you right now!
A trainer card that specifically signifies a trainer battle. Forces all wild Pokemon to flee. And you fight their one Pokemon immediately. So instead of trainers having 5 freaking Magikarps or something, they would just have their Pokemon and you would fight it. But then, of course, beating a trainer guarantees a prize because you've beaten their Pokemon. So that sort of signifies you've gone through part of the route.
Yes.
Because you've beaten the trainer. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay.
It's 5 o'clock. We want to put a pin in it there and say we've done some good work today because we've playtested.
We got a lot done today, which was why the pair of us went, oh Jesus Christ, it's already been 3 hours. Yeah, that's a little insight into what game dev is.
Yep.
That is how game dev be. Is sometimes you'll spend 3 hours, and at the end of it, you'll sometimes feel a little bit like, what did we actually achieve?
What we've achieved is that we know what not to do.
Which is very important.
Yeah. Because we tried out stuff and it didn't work, but we know it doesn't work, so don't do that again.
Just keep these to one side, because these are we are kind of using for our start of the game.
Yeah. Right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, that was a bit of a different stream. So, we'll see how it goes. You know, the hope is to eventually, you know, after many months of development by the looks of it, to get a game that just sort of runs on its own.
Yeah.
And give it a go each time. Wow. Pack some of this stuff up. Oops, fidgeting with my fidget cube. Neuro spicy. Wow.
Tired now.
Yeah, weirdly tired.
A lot of thinking. You're right.
Yeah. There was something in the front part of that isn't there, but maybe I'll put it somewhere else. Right. Okay. Just put all of these at the back there. Those are the ones I'm not really using. Side. There.
As Blue desperately fights for the Tetris block.
Yep. Gonna end up getting another one of these at some point. Especially because we don't have all the cards we need. Cool. Right. Time to go chill for a little bit.
Yeah.
Been thinking very hard, and now we need to not think at all. Right. We'll see you later, guys. I like how you wave.
I wave.
You wave.
Bye-bye.
Bye. They can't see us. Bye-bye.